got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
I'm at a Thursday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, and Dylan Michaels. We had up until 2 o'clock. We've got you for the next 4 hours. We will talk a lot of football today as we will be joined by Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, kcsn.substack.com, KC Laboratory Podcast. We will hang out with him at 11 o'clock. Kalen Kaler from The Athletic will join us coming up at noon, senior NFL writer. We get ready for the playoffs. Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots have decided to part ways. Pete Carroll, we heard about that yesterday while we were on the air right at the end, that he has been, let's just say, fired as the head coach, but allowed to stay on in an advisory role. But also, I think, sort of indicating that he's not done coaching if he had his wish. Doesn't mean he'll get a job, but saying, are you done with coaching or would you be interested? We'll see. I'm just focused on right now. No, I'm done with coaching. I'm working with the Seahawks is the answer if you're not interested in maybe coaching anytime soon. So we heard that yesterday, and then this morning we get the news that was really surprising, that Nick Saban is retiring from coaching, and Alabama is now looking for a head coach. And, ooh, boy, the coaching carousel that can take place with the Alabama Crimson Tide, that job coming open. And we will get an idea very soon, over the next 5 years or so, just how great Nick Saban is and how great the perfect marriage of Nick Saban at Alabama was. If you bring in a coach that's not to that level and they have a modicum of success but not winning national titles, you see what Nick Saban was able to do at Alabama. It wasn't just, well, Alabama's Alabama. Right, you can say that for a lot of programs. Alabama wasn't Alabama before Nick Saban got there. Alabama was good. Storied program, obviously, but they were looking for a coach for a reason. Well, yeah, Harbaugh's at Michigan. I mean, it's Michigan. Yeah, okay, cool. Michigan is Michigan now. Same thing with a lot of different places. But Alabama, Nick Saban got a lot of coaches fired while he was at Alabama in the SEC because they couldn't beat Nick Saban. So, okay, well, fine, you're fired. Well, you can't win the West. You're fired. Well, you're asking that, like, you can't win the West. You're fired. Can't beat Alabama. You're fired. He's getting a lot of coaches paid right now. Mm-hmm. Because there are a lot of coaches that are going to their AD saying, well, you know what, Alabama's open. I mean, Dan Lanning reportedly was in Tuscaloosa yesterday.
I also read a Reddit post that was going in depth about if he does or does not have Nike stock options. This is where we're at right now. We are talking about Nike stock and where Nick Saban is at any point. I don't know why, and Dylan, maybe you had the backstory on it. Dylan, right before the show, showed me Nick Saban walking into work at 8 a.m. this morning. It's like, hey, man, are you staying? That's fine. Also not carrying his own briefcase, which is very important that Nick Saban does not do. But what a day, man. What a absolutely momentous day in football history yesterday was. Someone said it's like, that George Washington and Thomas Jefferson or John Adams and Thomas Jefferson like died on the same 4th of July. That's what yesterday felt like. Yeah, I'll double check my history on it.
Tom Cruise was born on the 4th of July.
I don't know if that's actually true.
Oh, well, his character was apparently.
Okay, that makes a lot
I'm
more
not sure.
sense.
I was told. I read about it in a book.
There's at least a non-stupid argument that the two greatest coaches in football history both either retired or got fired yesterday. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
But it's true.
Absolutely, yeah. Bill Belichick, regarded right now as the greatest coach in NFL history. I understand the argument. I'm not going to die on the hill of arguing against it.
Right.
I don't believe it is inarguably the greatest coach in NFL history. I do believe there's an argument for Andy Reid. And we'll see if he wins another couple. But 6 Super Bowls to 2. Yeah, my quick math says that's 3 times the amount of Super Bowls that Bill Belichick has. Bill Belichick also has a couple of playoff appearances outside of coaching Tom Brady.
His assistants didn't have the success that Andy Reid's assistants have had.
Andy Reid has gone to the Super Bowl with with one less quarterback than Bill Belichick has made playoffs without Tom Brady. Excuse me, no, he's made one before and after Tom Brady. So Andy Reid has gone to the Super Bowl with 2 different quarterbacks, and Bill Belichick has gone to the playoffs twice without Tom Brady. Bill Belichick is 15 wins away from tying the all-time record for wins. As I tweeted out this morning, without Tom Brady, that's 3 more years of coaching. And I'm not being sarcastic because the last 2 years he's won 12 games. That would mean that in year 3 of coaching, he would pass 15. Unless he goes to a place that has a better quarterback than Mac Jones. Which you would think on the surface, well, yeah, there's a lot of places that might have a better quarterback than Mac Jones. Carolina, maybe. Atlanta, maybe. The Bears might be open, maybe. Chargers, yes. Better quarterback than Mac Jones. Titans.
He deserves better than Will Levis. I can't watch Bill Belichick coach Will Levis.
I mean,
it'd be like Sean McDermott and Josh Allen, but better and worse.
Honestly, if Belichick ends up at a place with just a generic quarterback, and if you are hiring Bill Belichick, is he okay with being hired and not having GM responsibilities or say by just simply being the coach? Because he has been the guy that, as Bill Parcells said, making the dinner, he's also picking out the ingredients. He's been that guy for a long time. Is he willing to relinquish that power, that responsibility to say, all right, cool, I'm on to coaching. We're on to coaching. We're on to coaching. Who's his GM? Do they get along? He seems to be pretty prickly. He might be awesome to work with behind the scenes. There's a lot of coaches that are like, oh, I love Bill Belichick. Love working with Bill Belichick. His ex-coaches continue to head back to New England to work with him.
Right.
If they didn't like working with him, they would never go back to working with him. Bobby Petrino tends to hire his relatives for a reason. They may be the only people that want to be around him. When they coach with him and they go somewhere else, they go, thank God. Thank God he's I'm not coaching there anymore. Doesn't seem to be the case coaching with Bill Belichick. He continues to bring back people that have been around him.
I would bet money that he's a package deal with Josh McDaniels wherever he goes next.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Josh McDaniels can go somewhere else and get a third coaching opportunity and realize that, oh, wait, he doesn't have Tom Brady there either. Unless, of course, he's coaching Tom Brady's son in football. Then he would have a Brady on his team.
I hadn't thought about this. But Mark Davis seems like the exact type of owner who'd be like, give me Bill Belichick. And then imagine Bill Belichick being like, and I've got an offensive coordinator for you.
Who? Josh McDaniels. Never heard of him.
I don't think you're going to like it.
But I'm willing to take the risk.
Imagine the players. There will be that can't happen. All right, he can't go to Vegas. It's impossible.
I want the Raiders to hire Bill Belichick.
I didn't until I realized that Josh McDaniels might have to come back, and now I kind of do.
No, I want him to hire Bill Belichick. Who's their quarterback?
Aiden AOC, baby. Aiden O'Connell, number 4, and you're on the field, number 1 on your depth chart.
He might as well bring Josh McDaniels, Mac Jones, and Bailey Zappi with him.
I think that's unfair to Aiden O'Connell, and that's the meanest thing I could possibly say about Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones.
I mean, Antonio Pierce should be the coach there.
Yes, 100%. What else could he possibly do to earn that
job? The Tennessee
job?
Titans have received permission from the Raiders to interview Antonio Pierce, which is a perfect fit because if I'm Tennessee, I'm thinking, I want a tough, hard-nosed coach, just a defensive guy that's in your face that the players will rally around, and you will get them to really buy in, and he can get more out. He may not be an offensive guy, but he's going to get more out of his players. He could probably do more with less than some other coaches and figure out how to get them to a higher level even without a quarterback. If I'm Tennessee, I'm looking for that coach.
And if he could be a former player by some incredible stroke of luck, he's got to be your guy.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm the Titans, I want that guy to be my coach because I don't know where you find that guy if you're in Nashville, anywhere. But the coaching carousel is going to be fascinating Because is Vrabel going to end up in New England? There's also coordinators that people are talking about that could get a head coaching job. Do you go the retread route? Do you go – I mean, again, all of these teams that are going to be contacting Jim Harbaugh, I mean, your first call to Jim Harbaugh, make him say no. Then when he does, move on. Find somebody else. But you have to at least call, see if he's interested. And if he is, great. What do you want? What do you need? If he's not, find somebody else. But Bill Belichick clearly wants to work some more. I believe Pete Carroll wants to work some more. Nick Saban does not want to work some more. He already tried the NFL thing. He chose Culpepper over Drew Brees. You chose poorly.
Could go back to the AFC East. Try the Patriots this time.
You know what? Yeah.
Maybe see if Belichick wants to try recruiting.
Give it a shot, yeah. Bill Belichick go to
places.
college?
Yeah, just trading places.
Well, Belichick has been used to paying players his whole career anyway.
Freaky Friday. He won't be alarmed by all the NIL stuff.
Excuse me. Bill Belichick has been used to working in a league that everybody pays players.
Exactly.
Nick Saban's not used to that.
No.
So he's done.
Definitely. That's exactly why he's out.
Hold on. Everybody else is paying players now too? We're not the only ones that get to pay players? I mean, I'm just saying, like, everybody, shut up! I mean, I'm out. Can't pay
money in college football.
You guys get to. Why is Missouri getting players? They're paying players too.
You think Dabo wants that job, or do you think Dabo will unretire to come back and coach Bama? I assume he retired 5 or 6 years ago when he said he was going to.
I think Dabo. Somebody showed a picture of Dabo with a black eye, and he said he was like sitting, and they said what Dabo looks like leaving the room when he walks into the players and says, "Our NIL is name, image, likeness of Jesus Christ." To the Alabama players.
I would love to see it. I'd give Jimbo a shot, too. I think both of those would be just a whirlwind. I think I'd like both of those.
I think you go after Lane Kiffin.
Man,
if I'm Alabama.
Can you imagine?
I think you go after Lane Kiffin. I don't know if Nick Saban would be like, "Hey, I'm retiring, and you better not hire Lane Kiffin."
Don't you dare.
In the retirement contract. In fact, this whole buyout thing with retirement, whatever money I made, I mean, I guess probably not a buyout with retirement, but whatever relationship we have moving forward will be severed, and I will not be around the athletic department and football program if Lane Kiffin is the coach. You will hire anybody but Lane Kiffin. Good news for you, Nick. We hired Kane Liffin.
I will go advise Auburn. Do not make me do this.
We hired Monty Kiffin to be the Herm Edwards role, but he's hiring Lane Kiffin to be the head coach. So, I mean, it's just, Monty Kiffin's kind of like the GM, sort of like the coach in name, but he's bringing his son along. But we hired Monty Kiffin. Don't worry, Nick. It's all good. That's who I'd go after. I know people are talking about Steve Sarkisian. Do you leave Texas for Alabama? You're in the SEC now, and you're recruiting in Texas. You just made the college football playoff. We'll see what the, pods or whatever, unbalanced schedule, all of that stuff for what Texas will look like. But if I'm Steve Sarkisian, I kind of got it rolling at Texas, feeling good. Everybody loves me. I'm in Austin, not Tuscaloosa. Texas has some high expectations, but you're walking into Alabama where they expect you to win a national championship now. Right now, Steve. And I don't give a bleep of what you did with Texas getting them to the college football playoff. Sarkisian has equity built up to get Texas to the college football playoff and be there and have an opportunity to win against Washington. They lost, but he got them to the college football playoff. Got them, quote, back. Texas is back. Alabama didn't care about Steve Sarkisian bringing Texas back. But Lane Kiffin can leave Ole Miss for Alabama. That's who I'd go get. We'll see if they do. Dan Lanning, I mean, I'd be, if I'm an Alabama fan, I'd be perfectly fine with Dan Lanning as well. Guy's familiar with the SEC, is coaching the SEC a little bit. Kansas City guy, you can't go wrong with that.
I know that A&M and Bama are very, very different beasts, but he was pretty definitive when all the A&M stuff going around was happening, and this is not me saying that I think college coaches tell the truth at the podium, just to be clear.
Every time.
But like I have the same question I have about Dan Lanning now that I had with the A&M stuff whirling, is that does he actually have the best gig in college football right now? And would he leave that for a way more stressful gig and a way more venomous fan base that has even higher standards than Oregon has earned over the, Nike era, I guess, if you want, since they started getting wild uniforms and everything that's happened since then? Mm-hmm. I don't know what the goal is for any of these guys. Is the goal to get the best job, win the most, and win a title? Or if you say, I could definitely win a title at Oregon, I'm not in any hurry to go to move from Eugene to Tuscaloosa. I never know what to assume in terms of how college football coaches are wired.
I'd have to go and look at the recruiting classes for Oregon, and college football is, not like college basketball. College basketball is national recruiting. Mm-hmm. You want to take care of people and players in your backyard. College football is very regional when it comes to recruiting, which is why Missouri and Eli Drinkwitz are doing what they're doing. Is, as I've said before, that I think Missouri is a program that can be better than what they traditionally have been if they can just find a way to lock up the borders and get the Gary Pinkel, hometown kids, and they twice played in a game where if they won, they played for a national championship. 2 times under Gary Pinkel. Against Oklahoma, when he was in the Big 12, and against Auburn in the SEC championship. Lost them both. Second half in the game opportunities, but there were a lot of Missouri kids on that team. A lot of Texas kids too, but a lot of Missouri kids on that team. Dan Lanning can take his ability to recruit and coach an offense to the Southeast in Alabama, where he's got a bunch of built-in advantages, and that recruiting ground and the Alabama name, he can take it down there. So he's got a good gig in Oregon. Yep. But now if you're Dan Lanning and you're going, okay, so I can coach in the Big Ten and travel across the country at Oregon.
True.
Coach at Oregon in the Big Ten, traveling across the country, doing all of these. Now I'm playing teams I've never played, cold weather, all of this stuff. Or I can go coach where I'm used to. Coached at Alabama, coached at Georgia, coached at Memphis, Southeast area, down there. And I know what my travel schedule is. It's the SEC.
Right.
And I'm at Alabama. And I'm at the premier or one of the 2 premier programs in the SEC when you look at what Georgia's doing right now with Kirby Smart. If I'm Dan Lanning, I'm taking the job. And I know he's got a good thing and chasing happiness and all of that stuff, and I don't think it'd be chasing the money. I think Dan Lanning would be chasing a better opportunity for him, probably quality of life and quality of coaching. I know quality of life stressful, stuff like that.
That's what I wonder about with these guys.
But quality of life in terms of all of the – now you're in a different conference, Big Ten, and he's never coached in the Big Ten before. I mean, he's coached in the Pac-12 at Arizona State and Oregon, and he's coached in – I guess Memphis was probably in Conference USA when he was there back in the mid-2010s. And he's coached at Georgia and Alabama. I think the familiarity that is there and a familiarity with this area that he's recruiting to, that he's coming back to Kansas City to try to get some players. Caden Green, stay the hell away, Dan. Luckily, he went to Mizzou. But now if he comes around this area to recruit players, he's recruiting them to the SEC, where, hey, family, you can come to Alabama and you can still watch your son play. We're heading to Missouri this year or that year. You can drive right down the road and watch your kid play at Mizzou. You can also watch him every single game because of the SEC network. I don't know if you get the Big Ten network in your household, but you're going to get the SEC network in your household. You can watch him play every single game, and we'll be at Mizzou. We'll be at Arkansas. Easier trips. You can come back here and you're recruiting in, quote, SEC territory, as opposed to you're getting that kid to move to Oregon to go play against the Pac-12 teams, but now you're moving to Oregon to play against Big Ten teams. You know? I don't know. I think those things going into it, and the fact that he's already in Tuscaloosa, and I don't know if he was there just to grab beers with Nick Saban as a congratulations on your retirement. I don't know what his, behind the scenes are, but if I'm Dan Lanning, I would leave skid marks to get to Alabama. And I know that seems like, why would you take that? You don't want to be the guy after the guy.
Right, because that might make you have skid marks.
Yeah.
That is right. The threat that is going to hang over your head is congratulations. This vacancy right now is the best, perhaps in our lifetimes, but certainly in the last decade. This is the best chance you have to achieve college football godhood. I mean, you can become a pigskin saint if you follow in Saban's footsteps and you keep Alabama being Bama. You also will never be the guy that built that program. It will be in Saban's shadow. And if you, what if they lose 3 games next year? Is the state functional? Like, do they need to declare martial law?
Right.
It is very high risk, very high reward. Dan Lanning clearly seems like he is built for that. Again, it's not unfamiliar territory. It's not like he's been a Pacific Northwest guy through and through this whole time. But I don't know if we'll ever really get to find this out except for when we get to talk to coaches after they've retired, because if they're out of job, they're probably going to lie when necessary about that job. But what is the risk reward that appeals to you? What is your stopping point? Mm-hmm. When do you say this is actually the last job I want to have, the last place I want to be? And Oregon is a good enough program at this point where I don't think that would be a silly thing to say, also considering the Nike money and however that's all working behind the scenes, and his $20 million buyout. Not that matters to Alabama, but it matters to – it's a big number. I just wonder what it is. I wonder if he says, I have everything in front of me and I can pull any string I want here in Oregon, or I'm going to go to Alabama and I'm going to be under the hottest spotlight that has been shown atop a football coach in a very, 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 very long time.
Yep.
He'd be a good fit, and I bet he'd do well there. I just wonder what that math is like for him and his family right now. What are the conversations they're having about this at this moment?
And let me say this. As a guy who roots for a team in the SEC, I don't want Dan Lanning to take the Alabama job because I don't want him coming into the area and recruiting to the SEC.
They should call Eli.
Well, I mean,
I guess Oregon could call Eli. I mean,
he's already making $10 million. I mean, is Alabama able to pay?
I don't know if Bama is fluid like that. I don't know if they're liquid like that.
Does Alabama have the money?
But it's a good point, though. My joke aside, do you want Dan Lanning in the SEC coming back and saying, "Hey guys, this looks familiar to me"?
I know the area that I'm recruiting. Trying to get those kids to Oregon, which is cool.
Yeah.
Now I'm coming back and recruiting this area to get the kids to Alabama.
Yeah.
And the SEC. Yeah, I don't want that.
It's a good point.
If I was him, I would take it. But what I'm rooting for the best for Dan Lanning, local guy. Guy, 14 years ago was at Park Hill South.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, just awesome.
It's hard to get more local. I've got his Wikipedia up for all of the stops and everything, and it is just like kind of cool to see. Born North Kansas City, Missouri, Park Hill South High School, William Jewell. It's like, man, like that.
It's awesome.
That's very, very cool.
Yeah. And the guy's 37 years old. So what the hell am I doing in my life? He's 37 years old. I might be the Alabama head coach.
You get to get the Oregon job.
Done and
send
done.
him a cover letter.
Done and done. Yes, 22-5 at Oregon the last 2 years. So we'll see what he ends up doing. But the coaching carousel is going to be unfreaking believable in college and also in the NFL. And on the same day, within a couple 3-hour period, the greatest college coach and arguably the greatest NFL coach are gone from their respective spots where they have been combined since 2007. Belichick since 2000, Saban since 2007. There are kids that are learning to drive right now that don't know a life without Pete Carroll in Seattle, Belichick in New England, and Saban at Alabama. There are kids that were born that are learning how to drive that it's the only places they've ever known those guys have coached at. And all three of those guys are at different spots right now. I mean, Super Bowls and national championships and just coaching pedigrees. I mean, we saw the quarterback changeover a couple of years ago with all of the Peyton and Tom Brady and Drew Brees. This is the first playoff
without any of those guys, because obviously Brady. Mm-hmm. This is the first one without those guys forever. There's so much change going on in sports.
Yes, we had this. I mean, it's going to happen, and now it's the new guys, and now it's a 37-year-old that might be taking over Alabama,
and also playing quarterback for the Browns. I think, right? What a time!
Joe Flacco. How old is Joe Flacco?
36.
Joe Flacco's 38. He is
38. He's older than Dan Lanning.
Older than Dan Lanning. God, that's amazing. That is absolutely incredible. Amazing. And Lane Kiffin's 48. Do you want to get a guy that's that old?
Yeah, I mean, it would be hard to see him sticking around.
When you go from Nick Saban and being 71 years old, you got to get some youth. You need some youth injected into that program. You can't go to a guy who's in his final couple holes on the golf course like Lane Kiffin.
No, that's far too late in the game.
That guy's almost 50 years old.
I mean, all of this is hard to sum up because, as you laid out, like this is sending such shockwaves throughout these sports that we love. But I did see a tweet that I thought did a very good job of that from NBC New York when they tweeted, Bill Belichick, who lost 2 Super Bowls to the Giants, expected to part ways with Patriots later today, reports say, as 24-year tenure ends with regular season loss to Jets.
Oh, my goodness. That guy. To hell with New York.
I don't think the funny thing is no one can even do that to Saban. It is impossible.
Well, I mean, with that sort of history there, if he was Kevin Durant, he would just go coach one of the New York teams. coming up at 11 o'clock. And then Kaylin Kaler will be our guest at 11 or noon from The Athletic, NFL senior writer. She does a fantastic job. She used to host a podcast called QB2, where her podcasts were just interviews with backup quarterbacks, which is a great concept. And also great for this year, considering that there's so many different backup quarterbacks that have been playing. And some of those even in the NFL playoffs. And so we'll talk with Kaylin Kaler about Belichick and Carroll, the coaching carousel, and the job openings, the playoffs. There are 8 job openings. 1/4 of the entire NFL is looking for a new head coach.
None of them are the Bears.
Chargers, Seahawks, Patriots, Titans, Raiders, Commanders, Falcons, Panthers. And apparently not the Bears. All looking for a head coach. I mean, I'm not saying there are unqualified guys out there, because there is a coach right now who's not a head coach that will win a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Maybe it's 20 years from now. But there's a coach somewhere right now that's also going to win a national championship that's never won a national championship. But there's a coach right now somewhere coaching that will win a Super Bowl. And I don't mean as a head coach. Mm-hmm. There's a coach somewhere right now that's not a head coach in the NFL that will win a Super Bowl. So they might hire somebody. You go, why do they hire this unqualified guy? Well, Harbaugh's a special teams coach. What are they doing? Why are they hiring this guy to be? Why are they hiring a quarterbacks coach to be the head coach? Zach Taylor was a quarterbacks coach with Sean McVay. Why are they hiring? He's not even a coordinator. He's never even called plays. How could he possibly be a head coach if he doesn't know what calling plays is like? Because that's the same exact.
That's the most important thing a head coach can do.
Dan Campbell's talking about eating kneecaps at a press conference. He's going to be terrible.
Nick Sirianni's going through processes and whatever it is that he kept saying over and over again, where it was just a disaster of an opening press conference.
He said, and I quote, less stinky, more athlete takeover was the quote.
Yeah. And that guy went to a Super Bowl a couple of years later after his opening press conference and damn near won it.
Jonathan Gannon was going psh, 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 and then maybe is a good coach and makes the Cardinals a good football team.
So Jonathan Gannon, they showed the his speech to like his players, which was so motivational when he was like, if anybody in this room is not willing to go out there and put it all on the line,
who took the bus?
You got fire in your gut?
Yeah, do you have fire in your gut? Because I know I do. If you can't tell that I've got fire in my gut, it's mainly indigestion. But if you don't have fire in your gut, then I don't know what to tell you. But hey, let's go get him, guys, okay?
It just goes to show you cannot judge a coach by their press conference unless that coach is Adam Gase, and then you can.
And you can't hire a coach for the press conference because then you may pass up on Jerome Tang. 2-0 in the Big 12.
Or Bill Belichick, for that matter, or...
No, you win the press conference, depending on who you are.
Today you would. Today, hiring Bill Belichick would win the press conference.
If Tepper hires Bill Belichick, he'd win the press conference.
As long as Tepper's not also at the table, yes.
But Bill Belichick ain't putting up with Tepper as his owner.
I cannot imagine.
As his boss.
Cannot imagine.
It's one thing to go from Robert Kraft, who's like, you know what, I'm just going to lay back and let everybody else do the work. As opposed to Tepper, who wants to be way more involved in everything.
Yeah, he'll throw a drink on you.
Yeah, so big difference there. We'll talk with Kaylin Kaler coming up at noon. We didn't even talk some college basketball. We haven't talked college basketball yet. What's happened is 4 of the top 5 teams have lost in the last 2 days.
KU had as we've called them, the University of Florida Central. So that can't be
Senator Florida.
Senator Florida. That was probably not it.
You send Florida.
Look at your show sheet here. I think you have a typo in your show sheet.
Oh, sorry about that. I put UCF.
Yeah, you had L at UCF.
Oy vey, darn it.
5?
But the first time that 4 of the top 5 teams in the AP lost in a 2-night span since 1740. It's been a long time since that happened.
Dating back to the dawn of Ken Palm, 1740.
Yes, right. That's right. It was Sir Ken Palm at the time. He's since dropped the Sir because that's obnoxious. So, thankfully he's done that. But
Sir Kenneth Pomeroy
of Dandridge,
of the Peach Basket
House of Pomeroy. But not only overall college basketball, the Big 12 is just going to be, it's no longer the balanced schedule, so you're not round robining where you're playing everybody twice. So it's a little bit of a who do you play, when do you play them, where do you play them, things like that. But, Houston, number one in all the advanced metrics, all the computers, Houston, number one. They go to Iowa State and lose. Iowa State picked 7th in the Big 12. And then Kansas heading to UCF, where we talked about, and it should have been a principal bet. We've talked about betting things on principle. Like, this is a principal bet. This feels like, why is this thing so close? It's begging you to bet on one side. On principle, I got to bet on the other. Last night almost felt like it should have been a principal bet, because we talked about, like, how is KU a 7-point favorite? UCF just lost by 25 to K-State. Like, I mean, is that really, like... they're like number 90 in KenPom. Sir KenPom, sorry. They're like number 90 in KenPom, 7-point favorite? Like, this seems odd. It should have been a principle alone. Well, then put money on UCF, because it feels like they're saying, go lay the points with KU. Bet KU, lay the points. Lay the points. KU's going to rule. But their first Big 12 game, that atmosphere, Johnny Dawkins, history of beating KU in a big game, not a home game. That was neutral site, but at home, you've got a pumped-up crowd and a team that is playing their Super Bowl national championship. Yeah. Everybody had been waiting for this game. Your first home game in conference is Kansas. Your first home game in a legit conference is Kansas. You knew they were putting everything into that game. The players were going to play as hard as that was a tournament-type game for the UCF players, not necessarily KU. And they went and lost. They got stung. They got beat. And UCF was picked last in this conference. By the coaches, by the way. The coaches picked UCF last. And Iowa State 7th. Houston 2nd, KU 1st. The only two teams getting first place votes, KU and Houston. And they lose back-to-back nights on the road. But then you start to look around at, like, what the schedules look like. I mean, KU doesn't have an easy, like, it was typically like, okay, when do you play them? That's it. You play everybody round robin, but when do you play them? Do you play them with beans? Do you play with, boy, you got lucky when you played that team at that time, like in the Big East. You got lucky when you played UConn in that little stretch in February when they were really struggling, because outside of that, they were playing dominant basketball, and they end up winning a national title. That's what the conversation was around the Big 12 when it was the balanced schedule round robin. Now it's like, okay, KU plays Houston twice. Okay, well, K-State only plays Houston once. They play them on the road, but they only have to play Houston once. KU plays Baylor twice. Well, K-State plays Baylor once. That's at home. You know what? Like, K-State plays, or KU plays Oklahoma twice. Oklahoma, top 20 KenPom, top 10 AP. KU plays them twice. K-State plays them once at home. Like, those are like these smaller things that we never looked at before, cared about before. Houston has UCF twice. Not that UCF is some slouch, because, they just, beat KU.
Kansas only has them once, and they only get West Virginia once.
I mean, K-State has West Virginia twice. They've already beat them. They have Oklahoma State twice. Those are two teams in the 100s of KenPom. Obviously, they have KU twice. They have Iowa State twice. That's going to be a tougher one, especially going to Hilton. And they've got BYU twice, which at one point you thought, well, BYU looks pretty good. I mean, they're not really supposed to do all that much in the Big 12, but maybe BYU's pretty good. I mean, they were top 10 in KenPom. And then they lose to Cincinnati at home by 11, and then they go and lose to Baylor. So they're now 0-2 in conference. They were 12-1, looking pretty good. And now they're 0-2 in conference. So maybe BYU not as good as we thought at one time. And we'll see what they look like by the time they play Kansas State in February, a month from now. BYU might be a shell of themselves in how they're playing right now, and they got them twice. So this is going to be fascinating from a local perspective with the two, because to me, KU has a tougher slate, which I'm okay with, because it's kind of like the in the NFL.
It's your first place schedule.
Yeah, your first place schedule to a degree. They want to see KU play Houston twice and Baylor twice.
Right.
Okay. I get that. I understand those things.
It's not like Houston and Baylor don't have to play Kansas twice.
Yes.
That's a really imbalanced schedule.
Absolutely. And KU plays Oklahoma twice. Those are the things that, and obviously K-State, KU. That's a given. That's an obvious. That's going to be every year that they play each other twice. But that's what's going to be so interesting about the Big 12 moving forward. Is it's a new age of no longer the round robin of everybody plays everybody twice. It'll be when you play them, but also who do you play, and are you going to their court? KU's one time they play Iowa State is at Hilton. I mean, that's a big deal, right?
Yep.
Playing Iowa State one time, where do you play them? Ames? Well, bleep. You play Tech one time. Texas, where do you play them? Lubbock? Well, bleep. You know what I mean? Like
they play Cincinnati once. They get them in Allen Fieldhouse. Cool.
Yeah, right. No, let me go to Cincinnati.
Can I go to Cincy?
Right, let me go to Cincinnati. Right, and I know UCF and all of that stuff, but let me go to West Virginia, which they do. But let me get Iowa State at home. Let me get Texas Tech at home. Those are tough places to play, and in the Big 12. So it's going to be interesting to see what takes place with that. K-State, by the way, gets Baylor at home. Gets Oklahoma at home.
It's weird that there are so many Big 12 SEC Challenge
TCU
games
at home.
in the schedule this year. It's Oklahoma in a couple of days, and they play Oklahoma again, and then Texas. I mean, that's in February.
It's a lot of these
really
SEC.
Weird.
Haven't they already played those? It's odd. I'm not sure.
Really strange.
That's not odd. I don't know. Look, K-State, if they had Tomlin, might be a different view, but I didn't expect them to start out 2-0. And even though West Virginia is an inferior team to them, I didn't expect them to go there and play the way that they did. And I didn't think they would beat UCF at home by 25. But they did. So K-State starting off in a pretty good way right now. We'll see what they can do. And Jerome Tang obviously is a damn fine coach. And KU needs to figure out who can be a fifth guy on this team. I mean, you got a 7-man rotation or whatever, but you got 4 players. And El Marco needs to figure some things out. Timberlake needs to figure some things out. Because right now it's just the 4 guys. And McCullough can't be the only one that carries you when Hunter Dickinson has an off night. It can't just be McCullough. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, wrapping up this hour, we'll talk a lot of football over the next couple of hours as we will talk with Matt Lane, KCSN, KC Sports Network, the KC Laboratory Podcast. We will talk with Kaylin Kaler from The Athletic coming up at noon. She's an NFL senior football writer. And then we'll hear from Andy Reid and Travis Kelce. Or we think Travis Kelce. Subject to change. But Andy Reid's Fast Friday is today on a Thursday. That is at 1 o'clock. And then we'll try to play some sports or leisure as well. Presented by Johnny's Tavern. So there you go. That is all coming up today.
Can't wait.
Over the next few hours.
Which legendary head coach do you think's going to get the boot during the show today?
Eberflus.
Ah, man, I have extensive thoughts on that decision. And I'm going to get into them right now, actually. So
Go.
Here's the thing.
Right.
I can't believe the Bears
Agreed.
are doing this.
Opened his press conference thanking Robert Kraft and then thanking equipment managers that handle footballs, the traveling videographers at other teams' practices and games, and Connor Stallions.
It's really strange.
I'm not sure why he thanked those individual people right after Robert Kraft. that was an odd way to open the press conference.
It was, but all the headlines are going to go to what he said right after, which is that he will be the next head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Obviously, that's going to send some shockwaves, but I'm glad Saban being there for this press conference, announcing that he's taking the Patriots job is great television.
Yeah, and it's a trade. Alabama's sending NIL money to New England for Bill Belichick, and the Patriots are sending Mac Jones to Alabama.
Did he have a year of eligibility? That actually could work out.
I think he does, probably. Let's bring in Matt Lane, kcsn.substack.com, the KC Laboratory Podcast, and the KC Sports Network. Matt, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm just trying to figure out where Pete Carroll fits into this coaching carousel right now. You guys had the Belichick and Saban trades, but where are we putting old Pete?
Well, I think Pete Carroll is going to – well, I almost said he's going to end up at Oregon when Dan Lanning leaves, but Dan Lanning can't go to Alabama if Bill Belichick is there in Alabama.
But Dan Lanning can go to the Carolina Panthers.
Or, nope, Lanning and Pete Carroll. There's your trade. Lanning heads to Seattle. Pete Carroll heads to Oregon. They're both in the Northwest. They stay there. Family stays there. It's all good. Pete Carroll returns to the Pac-12, but also wants the challenge of the Big Ten. Done.
Perfect. I think we nailed it. I think we locked this up. Well, okay. I guess rap sheet has nothing to do for the rest of the day.
There we go. Yes.
Oh, where are we sending Matt Nagy?
Chicago. Oh, wait, no, they kept their coach.
But not their OC, Matt. Not their offensive staff.
Yeah, that's right. You know, we're sending Matt Nagy, Vegas or the Chargers. That's where we're going. Dylan says Siberia. So there you go. You know what? He'll feel like he's in Siberia on Saturday. And transition. Matt, what's your feeling for this Chiefs team heading into the postseason? How you feeling right now? In the last couple of years, it might have been a little bit different in how they were playing, but what are you feeling right now heading into this hopefully playoff run?
It's a little torn, I think. This particular game feeling pretty good. I think that ends up being a pretty good matchup with the Miami Dolphins, given all of their injuries, the weather, just the way the two teams align on the field. Like, I feel pretty good this weekend, but I'm definitely in a wait-and-see moment for the rest of the playoffs. The Chiefs absolutely, to me, don't feel like one of the favorites to go win the Super Bowl or even be the AFC's representative. But in the back of my mind, I'm also sitting here going, they have Patrick Mahomes, they have Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo always turns it up in the playoffs, and now they have actually a high-end defense already going in at the baseline. So there's always that sliver of hope. There's always that chance, but it's definitely a different feeling to be going into the playoffs thinking there's a chance they go win the Super Bowl versus thinking like, oh, as long as they don't shoot themselves in the foot, they will win it for sure, like it has been the last few years.
Yeah, my feeling is this is the first time I can remember the Chiefs entering the playoffs probably since 2018, because didn't know what they would look like. That was the first year, obviously, with Patrick Mahomes. But it's the first time entering the playoffs since 2018 that I look at it and I go, if the Chiefs play their A game and another team in the AFC plays their A game, the Chiefs won't win that game. And that's the Ravens to me. If the Chiefs play their A game and the Bills play their A game, I think the Chiefs can win. If the Ravens play their absolute A game and the Chiefs play their A game, I think the Ravens win.
Yeah, I think even the Bills are close because we've seen the Chiefs and the
it's
Bills
closer with the
play,
Bills. Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen those two teams essentially play their A game at least offensively with one another, and it came down to overtime in 13 seconds.
Amazing.
And that was clearly two different variations of the teams. I think I would make the argument that the Bills have looked a little bit closer to that team this year than the Chiefs have looked to their version of that same team. But still,
makes
that
sense.
one's very close. That one's a toss-up. I agree. If the Ravens come out and the Chiefs can't force them to play down a little bit, they can't knock them kind of off of that pedestal and make them do things they don't want to do on the football field, they should not be a favorite in that game. And you kind of have to see things breaking the Chiefs' way as of right now to win that game. But then again, there's still that tiny part of my brain in the back that's going, but what if, just even this weekend against the Dolphins, what if we get the Andy Reid masterclass, Patrick Mahomes comes out and plays like the NFL's best player again, kind of reminds everybody like, hey, when we aren't dropping passes, when we're not setting ourselves up in 2nd and 20 every single down with a holding penalty or a false start, this is what we can still do. And I just do wonder if we actually see it, because we haven't really seen it this year. But once we see that one time, does that kind of flip that belief back the other direction again. I hope we find out this weekend, but that's what's going on in the back of my mind here.
It's interesting you say that because Matt Nagy yesterday saying that the emphasis they are putting on the offense this week, like you can talk about execution, red zone, third down percentage, all that, is clean. Play clean. That's the emphasis this week, play clean football. And I think that makes sense because this matchup this weekend, which I want to get into in here in just a little bit, but this matchup this weekend, if the Chiefs play clean football on offense, they should be able to control the game, especially with Miami's defense, the way that they are as battered and bruised. Josh, you wanted to weigh in on something real quick?
A real quick thing. Dan Lanning has tweeted out a little video of him talking to his team and ending with a message on the screen of, if you're afraid your coach is leaving, come play for us. The Ducks aren't going anywhere, and neither am I.
Okay.
So Dan Lanning announces here in this little video that he'll be staying at Oregon.
Okay. So that's because they've already decided Belichick and Saban are being traded for each other. That makes sense.
That must have been what really
Dan
pushed
Lanning
over
wanted
the
the job. They told him that, sorry, we're hiring Belichick. And he's like, well, I've got a job. I've got a job anyway. What are you talking about? Visiting with Matt Lane is our guest, and Matt Nagy talking about playing clean football. But you talk about sort of knocking a team off their pedestal or having a team not play their best. I mean, we're 1 year in the playoffs removed from, if the Chiefs played their A game in the AFC Championship game, they win. And the Bengals going and beating the Raiders in the first round and then going to Tennessee and turning over Ryan Tannehill like 4 times and then getting dominated in the first half to then whatever the heck the Chiefs were doing offensively in the second half and finding a way to win that game in overtime. I'm not saying it's going to take something crazy like that, but we've seen those things happen before, and that was with a team that had never done that and hadn't had the playoff pedigree, and they were going up against a team that had been to back-to-back Super Bowls and had won that game, as opposed to the Ravens and Lamar Jackson are trying to figure out how to win his second playoff game. So I certainly think it's possible, and I'm with you that I sort of go back and forth. So let me ask you this then. What is the expectation for you for this team before they enter the postseason? What would be disappointment? What would be that level of, okay, this means to me it's sort of what I thought could happen in the postseason, and what is exceeding expectations for you?
And so I thought about this all year, and it's kind of tricky because you have to figure out, do you just completely erase what the preseason expectations were to have this conversation, or do you still keep those in mind too? Because obviously if we're using the preseason, like it's pretty much Super Bowl or it was a step back, which almost has to be deemed as a failure. The way the year's played out, though, I don't think it would be fair to have, like, oh, if this team doesn't make the Super Bowl, then it was a failed playoff run kind of expectation. So it's finding the balance, and I think I've kind of barreled it down to if they lose the wild card round, that would be highly disappointing. If they lose this game to the Dolphins, if they let the Dolphins come into Kansas City with 0 degrees at Arrowhead at night, win this game with all the injuries they have, I think that's really bad. I don't think you can really find any way to excuse that away as, this isn't as bad as we thought. Everything's going to be fine kind of going forward. That would be a pretty bad one. I still even think if they lost the divisional round, it would be a little disappointing. But if they were competitive to a team like the Bills, lost a close game down the stretch, and it was all the same issues that we've seen all year, I think you could stomach it. It wouldn't be I don't think you'd call it a success, but you could stomach it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, finally, if they get to the championship game this year, I think the way the rest of the year's gone, you have to feel really good about the coaching job, the defense, or the quarterback play if this current version of the Chiefs is able to make it that far, because that means they probably beat a team that had played better than them throughout the year to get there. At least one. They went and they were competitive in the AFC Championship game despite having no wide receiver room, having questions at offensive tackle, having one of the youngest defenses in the NFL. I think you could probably sell that as being a success for the season, even if the expectations to start the year were probably there. The way we saw the season go, getting back to just the championship game, I think you would leave the season on a pretty high note when you look back on it in a month or two.
Matt Lane is our guest. The offense and what they can do, what they've at least expectations of what hopefully they could do, and what is this might be the playoffs, and we'll see what Andy Reid, or it is the playoffs, but it might be like, okay, let's see what Andy Reid does, and they can break out some cool plays now. But anyway, what can they hang their hat on offense to you? Is there anything that is like we can fall back on this if things aren't working?
There isn't, and I think that's the biggest issue with this team. I think they have a problem with trying to push the ball vertically, and then I think they have a problem of having a just complete identity on offense that no matter what, that's what they're going to try to do when this game starts. So they are not known for hitting explosive plays. They are not known for right now using Travis Kelce on third downs and just converting and executing at a super high level. The run game has its inconsistencies, both the runners and the run blocking. Like, they don't have a bread and butter on the offensive side of the ball right now, and I think you're essentially relying on, hey, Patrick Mahomes, go make something happen on some of these plays. And in years past, that's worked. This year it's been a little bit more up and down because of the skill positions around him. So I am curious to see, now that the playoffs are starting, Isaiah Pacheco's healthy again. I do wonder if they try to lean into the run game more. I don't know if they will ever be a running team, but I do wonder if they try to sit on the run game a little bit more often here in the playoffs, because they have struggled all year to find a true identity throwing the ball, trying to move the ball through the air. And so if they don't have that, you got to find it somewhere, and it might rely on the run game, which is a definite twist for an Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes-led team.
Yeah, and with how cold it's going to be, I don't know if you know this, Matt, but apparently the weather is going to be pretty cold this weekend, so you might want to bundle up and dress accordingly. It's what I've heard. I don't know. Miami's being asked about it as well, but I do wonder if the running game is something that they will just simply say, I know that defensive ends are missing for this Miami team, but they're also playing backup inside linebackers. And that defensive line has some older players on it. Wilkins and Seiler have been playing really good football. But I do wonder if it's like, okay, they can't rush the passer. Okay, but they're also playing backups at linebacker. So that front seven, can you just attack them and run downhill and reset the offensive line 5 yards down the field against some backups and guys who were special teamers 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, and I think that a big key is going to be sticking to it, because to start the game, when guys are fresh, when there's still a lot of adrenaline pumping and everything, that cold might not matter as much in that first quarter or your first drive or two. So even if the run game is not working, because they do have some good interior defensive linemen, can you keep it up in the second quarter, the second half, when that cold starts to eat at you, when the adrenaline's not going as much, and now a thin and older Miami Dolphins like front seven with the injuries they're dealing with. Now these guys maybe don't want to take on this contact 3 straight plays. Maybe they don't want to have, literal power ran down right down their face over and over again and have to make these kind of physical tough plays in that weather over and over all game long. I think there could be something too early in the game. They are willing to stick their nose in there, try to shut down a run game, because everyone's been talking about this happening, but just can you keep that up for 30, 45, 60 minutes? And on the flip side, will Andy Reid decide to keep that up for 30,
Yes.
45, 60 minutes, or will it fall out of favor when they have, 8 carries for 22 yards and it's just not working? Then they try to go to the quick passing game everywhere and kind of abandon the run game.
Well, and I mean, the most effective run play and running scheme for the Bills was Josh Allen, and I don't think the Chiefs want to do that with Patrick Mahomes. So that is something at least to keep in mind, and that is still against a battered. Now, Van Ginkel left the game in the third quarter, so that's also something to keep in mind, as he was there in the first half. Jerome Baker, I believe, was also there in the first half as well. But this offensive line, where's your confidence level in the O-line right now? They had some guys shuffling around. Tooney played left tackle a little bit against the Chargers. You had Creed Humphrey playing guard, Allegretti playing center. They were getting different guys, different looks, all of that stuff. But Donovan Smith, Wanya Moore still in the concussion protocol. And the fact that it's a Saturday game, that means concussion protocol right now for him would technically be Friday for a Sunday game. So it means that he's probably going to have to be cleared on Saturday morning from concussion. So that means he's not going to practice this week. He's a rookie. Donovan Smith limited with the stinger. Your confidence in the offensive line, that interior part of it, how they've played. Juwan Taylor probably back at right tackle, depending on if Donovan Smith can go or not. Just what they have to offer this weekend, and how good you think they can be moving into the playoffs, where they need to play certainly better than what they've played this year.
The elephant in that room is obviously left tackle, and whether it's Donovan Smith or Wanya Morris, I don't know if there's a massive difference. I think during Morris's first few starts, I thought you could see a clear path to them being better along the offensive line with him, especially in the run game. But then he had a few pretty rough games in a row there leading up to that concussion. And it kind of got bad enough that it almost would have been worth it to go back to the veteran Donovan Smith, going into the playoffs because there were some really bad plays in there. There were some stretches where Wanya Morris just kind of his inability to block his guy or be on the same page as other people kind of blew up the Chiefs' offensive drives. So it might have been time to go back to Donovan Smith with or without an injury. So hopefully he is healthy and able to go. He had the most experience on this Chiefs offensive line at left tackle this year. So fingers crossed he's ready to go. I definitely get a little bit more worried if they're having to shuffle Jawan Taylor out to left tackle and Lucas Niang into right tackle and figure all that out on the fly. If it's Donovan Smith in there at left tackle, though, I feel fine about it. He hasn't been great this year, but it seems acceptable. This matchup isn't the one to really expose him. I don't even know if necessarily the Bills, if that's who they would go on to play in the following week, would be the one to expose them that much. So it's okay. I'm not overly worried about the offensive line, even though it hasn't been a strength the majority of the year. I do think they should be able to, as the game goes on, kind of impose their will on the Dolphins' defensive front this week. So hopefully they lean into it no matter who is playing left tackle.
Yeah, I would be more concerned if they were playing the Browns this weekend.
Yeah.
Or if they were playing the Steelers and TJ Watt was healthy, at least from the standpoint of being able to pressure Patrick Mahomes. The Dolphins, the offensive line should look fine. If they don't, then there's some issues. if the Dolphins are putting pressure on Mahomes the entire time. Matt Lane is our guest, KC Sports Network. The matchup then from this offense against the Miami Dolphins. Vic Fangio has been able to sort of figure some things out with Patrick Mahomes. It's been one of those when he was with the Broncos. Mahomes didn't have the best games against Vic Fangio. Second half against the Dolphins, they didn't look all that great in that game in Germany. But Vic Fangio in his press conference yesterday, I couldn't find the audio or video anywhere. The Dolphins don't post it on their YouTube channel, so good for them. What's the point of having a YouTube channel? So he was asked, what's the challenge for you with so much, he said, not just new guys, or the question was not just new guys, but guys that you've got backups in other roles. What's the challenge for you as the coordinator in what to do? And he said, quote, the biggest thing is not to try and do too much. Because the worst way you can play is to beat yourself, not knowing what to do, not being in the right place at the right time. So you've got to be careful not to do too much. We've got half our starters out there, and they're yearning for anything to help win the game, so you've got to balance that. If Vic Fangio is going out there saying, well, we can't do too much on defense because I don't even know if our guys know where to be against an Andy Reid game plan in the playoffs, like, honestly, there's no excuse for this offense to struggle on Sunday. I don't care about the weather. Like, there's no excuse for this offense to struggle on Saturday against the Dolphins.
Yeah, it should look pretty good. It should look better than it has for a lot of the years. The issue is they've gone up against some other not great defenses, not this banged up, but they've gone up against some not great defenses this year and not looked particularly great. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Yeah. I do think the Dolphins have a fair amount of injuries kind of through the middle of the field, so they were already earlier in the year, leading up to the first Chiefs-Dolphins game, you found a lot of teams found success. There was a lot of crossing routes, mesh concepts to challenge their communication amongst their defensive backs and the linebackers, and it wasn't going great for the Dolphins. Now, it got a little better throughout the year once Jalen Ramsey came back, Xavier Howard came back. Like, it got a little better, but now a lot of guys are hurt again. Now Howard's out, and Eli Apple's back in. They're losing linebackers, so challenge that communication again. Vic Fangio's defense works in part of what he says. Everyone's doing their job. They're kind of keeping everything in front of them. They're not doing anything crazy exotic. They are just playing sound football. But now you put a bunch of backups in, and then you have star players who probably feel like they need to cover for these backups. Yeah, do you have guys that not only have miscommunications, but guys that get out of their lanes trying to make plays? Do you have somebody trying to pick up the slack that they expect to be there? And can Andy Reid and the Chiefs offense take advantage? I would definitely look forward or, look for them to do a lot of stuff across the middle of the field that challenges the Dolphins' zone coverage to pass off route distribution correctly, to make sure everybody crossing through these zones and crossing patterns and meshes and all these just like zone spacing routes, make sure they pick them all up rather than consistently trying to attack downfield. I hope the Chiefs try to push the ball vertical, but I don't know if this particular matchup is the one where you're going to see a complete return to an explosive passing game. It might be a lot more of taking what the Dolphins defense gives you and kind of forcing out those miscommunications amongst those new players.
And on the flip side, not Frank Smith. I almost said Frank White, but Frank Smith, the offensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins. If Frank White was the offensive coordinator for Miami Dolphins, that would be really interesting. But Frank Smith, offensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins, on the flip side of what we're talking about with Vic Fangio saying you can't do too much and the miscommunication thing, he was asked about what stands out with the Chiefs' defense, and he said essentially their communication, how connected they are. All three levels, just everybody is on the same page on each play, knowing exactly what they're supposed to do, and all of that. And I just that's what you get when, we've talked about Steve Spagnuolo's defenses, Matt, at the beginning of last year, where it's like, okay, he's got a bunch of new guys, and this will be one of those to where it'll be better as the season goes along because he's got to figure out what his guys can do, what they can't do. They've got to get used to the scheme. This is now essentially 2 full years into the scheme with this group of players. He's got everything at his disposal, and one of the things that sticks out while, Frank White / Smith is watching film and in that first go-around is everybody's connected and passing off and handing off receivers and doing exactly what they're supposed to do. I mean, that's a huge compliment to, obviously, Spagnuolo, the coaching staff in the individual positions, but also the players understanding what they're supposed to do and then going in and know your role, do your job, as Herm Edwards would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that we've seen this Chiefs defense grow with over since the start of last season up to this point. And this year they've been excellent at it. And I think that Dolphins game that probably spurred this conversation is very true because the Dolphins, their offense, the concepts aren't the most complicated or intricate. They're not relatively, but they're simple concepts that a lot of teams have seen, but they dress them up in amazing ways. So they get to them in very exotic, very fun new ways. And what the Chiefs did was just essentially just decipher all of that. Everybody on the field understood what was happening every single play. They were rotating with all of the Dolphins' motions, whether it was the fast one, return motions. Everybody on the field was handling it the exact same way. And so when the Dolphins would then get into their routes, they weren't having not necessarily coverage bust is what they were getting all year, but they were out leveraging the defense because one player, 2 players were slow to react and slow to see what was happening and how to adjust to all these different pre-snap things the Dolphins are doing. The Chiefs handled it fantastically, and really they kind of won the game almost based on how they were able to handle that motion, how they shifted their safeties around, and every defensive back kind of understood what their new role was as the formation strength changed for the Dolphins. So they did it great. I'm sure the Dolphins will add extra wrinkles to it, but we've seen the past couple weeks, whether it was the Ravens or the Bills, some teams have done a pretty good job kind of handling it out. The Dolphins have very good run game. They have explosive playmakers. They could get a little healthier on the offensive side of the ball, but teams are starting to get a little bit of a read on how to handle that offense. And if you get those motions kind of under control, if you get them contained a little bit, the Dolphins offense gets a little bit more stagnant, a little bit more reliant on Tua, and that's where teams really have had good luck shutting them down for a vast majority of the games.
Well, when they've played top 10 defenses, they've played 6 games against teams ranked in the top 10 on defense, and they are 1-5 in those games, scoring 18 points per game. They have played 6 games against teams in the bottom third of scoring defense. They are 5-1, scoring 40 points per game in those contests. And even if you take out the Denver game, in which they scored 7, they are 4-1, 34 points per game. Still double the points per game for Miami when they're playing the bottom third. But it's not just that. What stands out is really the first part. Top 10 defenses, they're averaging 18 points per game. They become a pedestrian offense against top 10 defenses and scoring-wise. It's not like they don't have playmakers and they can break big plays, but their performances on the field against those defenses don't lie.
Yeah, and it's very, counterintuitive for the rest of the NFL or the day and age that we live in football, to where with the Dolphins, you almost want to take away everything else besides the quarterback and then let him beat you, because Tua has not been that great, historically in the NFL at processing, of getting to his second read, of making plays happen when that first player isn't covered, that first look isn't open.
Mm-hmm.
That's where he starts to struggle. And then especially if you get pressure on him, he starts to really struggle. So it seems like the key to slowing this Dolphins team down, this is what the good defenses do, is they don't get out-leveraged by, consistently by the motions. They're going to get you plenty, but you don't get consistently out-leveraged. You don't get consistently out-schemed due to all the motions they do pre-snap. You find ways to clog up the run lanes. You don't let them run the ball outside where their speed really comes into play. You force them to, get short run plays, play in second and third and long. You take away that first read, make Tua beat you. Even if guys are open, he routinely misses them. So they're one of the few teams in the playoffs that you say, I'm going to make their quarterback beat us, and he struggles to do so. So I think that's where the top 10 defenses have had a lot of success. We saw the Bills do that, led them to getting that game-winning interception by essentially just challenging Tua to make the right read or to make the right play that would change post-snap, and he just didn't do it yet again.
Oh, he was brutal in the second half. I mean, Tua's second-half performance against the Bills, and credit the Bills' defense too, but Tua's second-half performance against the Bills is why the Chiefs are playing the Dolphins and not the Steelers, because he was just terrible. And you're right about the pressure. I mean, Tua has the widest variance from qualified quarterbacks of completion percentage when pressured and when not pressured. When he's pressured, he's second to last in the NFL at 40.7% completion percentage. When he's not pressured, he's second best in the NFL at 77% completion percentage. It's just, you're right. It's funny. Take away everything but the quarterback, let him beat you. And if you can take away the run game, then it puts even more pressure on Tua. All right, what do you think happens on Saturday if you have a score in mind as well with this Chiefs-Dolphins matchup?
I think it's going to be really difficult for this Dolphins team to handle everything they have. Like, they might come out and play pretty strong to start because everyone's telling them the same thing. Everyone's telling them that it's too cold, that they're too beat up. That does, spur a little bit of fire in these guys. So they might come out and play tough to start, but I think that weather sets in. I think that cold temperature sets in. Guys are going to be like, oh, wow, I have to play a lot of snaps on defense. There's not other people here. Maybe you start making a couple mental mistakes because you have backups in on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think the Dolphins' defense in its current state poses a ton of issues for what the Chiefs' offense is. The Chiefs don't have to beat Jalen Ramsey. They don't have to attack Javon Holland over the middle of the field. You can let those guys be excellent players and just kind of pick apart the rest of the defense. So I do think the Chiefs' offense should find some success as the game goes on, running the ball a little bit. Offensively, Miami's offense versus the Chiefs' defense, that's kind of where the game is. If the Chiefs, like they did in that first matchup, can slow down the run game, which the Chiefs defense, that if they have one weakness, it has been in the run game. But if they can do what they did in that first game and slow it down, I think Steve Spagnuolo is going to have plenty of answers to keep Tua on his heels, to keep him second-guessing. We know that doesn't lead playing well. Tua has not notoriously played well in cold weather games. He's been pretty poor in those as well. So I think the Chiefs defense should slow down this Miami Dolphins offense too. So I feel like this could be a comfortable win, like something like a 24-13 for the Chiefs. Hopefully we see a little bit of promise from that offense, and those 24 points are them just kind of trying to coast it out, eat up clock down the stretch, and we see some life from this offense so that we feel a little bit more spunk going into that divisional round, whether it is going to be against the Bills or against, the winner of the Texans-Browns game.
We'll see what happens. Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, kcsn.substack.com, and the KC Laboratory Podcast. Matt, as always, really appreciate the time, brother. Enjoy the football, and we will catch up soon.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much. Go Chiefs.
Absolutely. There's Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, kcsn.substack.com.
You know where he's at right now. You know where we're all at right now?
Where?
We're on the road to the playoffs.
What?
The road to the playoffs is brought to you by Greenlight Dispensary. Outstanding customer service, superior product, and continuously voted Missouri's best. Open 7 days a week. Find a location near you today at greenlightdispensary.com.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone coming up next. I don't want this to feel like heading into the game that it's just a dismissal of the Miami Dolphins, because I don't want it to be that, because Miami's a good team. They're well coached. Vic Fangio's a hell of a defensive coordinator, and he'll try to figure something out with the guys that he has. Mike McDaniel's a hell of an offensive coordinator. I like him as a head coach, but the different wrinkles that he brings in. What Matt had talked about there when he said, you expect as you go into the playoffs some new wrinkles, some things like that. And I wonder if Miami put the new wrinkle in last week against the Bills when they ran that fake Tua turns to his left and then turns all the way around and pitches it to the running back going the other way. They were showing the flow one way, and then you got speed out on the edge with a defense that was flowing a different way. So you're creating those seams. That's not a new wrinkle. Spagnuolo will be prepared for that.
Yep.
They'll be ready for that thing. And again, the strength of the Chiefs' defense is their speed sideline to sideline and their edge players that can tackle. Not even edge defensive line, but as we've talked about, they're
corners too.
Corners and safeties, they are so good at the tackling. And by the way, we saw that full display of what that can mean on Monday night when Michigan's cornerbacks and guys in open space were making tackles. And if this guy missed a tackle, it was another 10 yards and a first down. Oh, nope, now they're punting. We've seen that with the Chiefs. And if this game comes down to the Chiefs controlling the ball and scoring and putting the Miami Dolphins defense in tough situations and grinding out the game and having them have to have the depth, which they don't have, and the stamina, which they've got some older players that will be out there and guys that aren't, used to playing as much, and as generic as maybe the defense might be, Christian Wilkins and Seiler are good players. So they have some good players. Jalen Ramsey's a good player. Holland and Elliott are good players if they're both playing. They've got some good players that are out there playing for them. They've got some real backups that are out there playing as well, and some older guys that are going to be playing. But the more and more you look at Sunday night's game, the Bills dominated that game. Just dominated that game, and especially the second half. But they turned the ball over. Josh Allen, not Jared Allen, but Josh Allen with his 3 turnovers.
Josh Allen creates turnovers kind of like Jared Allen
That's
did.
exactly right. The 2 interceptions in the end zone, and then the fumble on 3rd down and 13. 3rd down and 13, you're at the 20-yard line. There's 3 points on the board. You don't have to force it. You don't have to run around in the pocket and try to make something happen. And then Wilkins gets in there. Again, Christian Wilkins, who will be playing, who is healthy, gets in there, sack, strip, fumble, recovers the fumble. So there are players that can do it still out there on the field. But the second half of that game, the Bills outgained the Dolphins by 200 yards.
It's crazy.
In the second half. The Dolphins gained 57 yards in the second half. 5 possessions, 3 3-and-outs, and the other 2 possessions were 4-play drives. 1 first down punt, 1 first down interception. 57 yards. And Tua was just terrible in that second half. Tua went 8 of 14 for 50 yards and an interception with a 34.8 quarterback rating. He had a 93 in the first half. Wasn't great. 120 yards passing, a touchdown, and an interception. The interception was an arm punt. I don't even hold that against him. It was 3rd and long, and he threw it deep, and they intercepted it, and they got tackled at like the 20. So sort of an arm punt. But even with the arm punt, he had a 93 quarterback rating. They go into halftime with a 7-point lead, and they come out in the second half, and he goes 8 of 14 with a 35 rounded up quarterback rating, an interception, and throws for 50 yards because the Bills were saying, we're taking away the run and other things, and Tua, we don't think you can beat us. And he said, I can't.
You nailed it, actually. Dang.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. Oh, okay. And that was the Bills' game plan in the second half, was to put it into his hands, and he could not do that. He couldn't answer the bell.
Just to get ahead of the text or whatever, they are going to end up with 2 offensive pieces back.
Yeah, for sure.
In this game, and I think Waddle's a big deal.
Yeah.
But it's not a wrinkle. It's not a schematic change.
Yeah.
It's not something they're going to do to change their identity in any way.
They are adding an offensive player from the first time they played in Achan.
Right.
He didn't play the first game.
And he is a blast.
So that helps.
But it ends up being, this is a pretty basic analysis that often is true, but like the Dolphins are a chunk play team in this instance. I mean, if they break a one run that should be a 12-yard run, Achan speed turns it into a 75-yard touchdown, that's a thing that can happen to you.
Absolutely.
That's on the table. But if you do treat the Dolphins like a team that is kind of tiptoeing around their quarterback, that gives you an incredible advantage as a defense. And it's something that I had heard both from Chiefs players this week, and I even think that the Bills may have been on it some last week in terms of, and I've had some conversations with a Dolphins reporter this week, kind of going back and forth on some things. Every time I'm like, hey, so if I ask or I hear someone else ask, I think Willie Gay might have been asked about it too, like, what do the Dolphins do differently from when you met in Germany? I asked, what's different from Germany? And the answer is, it's kind of just the injuries.
Language.
It's just kind of the injuries for the most part. That's been a problem. Playing in this country might be easier to travel to Kansas City, but it'll be colder here. But really, that's what it is. And it gives me a little bit of some, like, for a while, that was a Sean McVay thing of, well, yeah, the first half of the year, that Rams offense is unstoppable. In the second half of the year, defenses adjust, and McVay doesn't have like a second thing to shift into. Now, having Matthew Stafford has made that easier. Having the skill position players has made that easier. And I think McVay has continued to get even better as a coach, who's already been incredible, obviously. But that thing in an early career crossroads for Mike McDaniel, I think makes sense. That right now he's in a spot where he's saying, all right, I got my second year of Tyreek Hill being the engine of this offense and kind of figuring out where we're at with Tua and all of that. But how can you iterate on that? And I don't know that the Dolphins have an answer, and their defense is completely obliterated by injury. It's a really tough spot for Miami.
And it's a good point that as you said, they'll be getting two pieces back than what they had against the Bills. They'll be getting one piece back than what they had against the Chiefs. They also had a healthy Waddle and Mostert in that game against the Chiefs. There was no Achan.
And probably a healthier Waddle than will be out there on Saturday,
that's
too.
What I mean.
As long as we're nitpicky, kind of like...
I don't think it'll be a healthy
80%?
Waddle.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a playing Waddle.
Right.
I don't think it'll be a healthy Waddle. They had a healthy Waddle and a healthy Mostert the first go-around and an Achan that did not play. They'll have a healthy Achan and a banged-up Mostert and Waddle, and I believe a healthy Tyreek Hill. I know there's a quad that he's limited practice, and Tyreek is a gamer.
Yep.
I mean, I expect Tyreek to be Tyreek, to be running around as fast as he can and all of that stuff, and he's played in this weather before. Tyreek is not something that I look at and go, well, it's going to be limited or anything like that with Tyreek Hill. And so they will have some of those things. But like second half against the Bills come out and they get to the Miami 48-yard line on 3rd and 5, and Josh Allen gets sacked. Okay, big play by Melvin Ingram. He got the sack on Josh Allen. So then they end up punting. But they got into Miami territory. They were driving, still down by a touchdown. Miami goes 3 and out. Then the Bills get the ball back, and they get down inside the red zone. And then Josh Allen gets sacked and fumbles. So now Miami gets the ball back again. They go 4 plays, punt the ball, punt return touchdown. Miami gets the ball back and goes 4 plays, punts the ball. Bills get the ball back at their own 26, and they drive in 6 plays and score a touchdown. So they had they were picking up yards, and they turned that into we're picking up yards, and now we're going to score. Miami goes 3 and out. Buffalo gets the ball back. They get to the Miami 37-yard line, 4th and 1. Josh Allen gets stopped on the quarterback sneak. Miami bowed up and got the stop. And then, of course, Tua ends up throwing an interception 4 plays later. But that was all about the Bills. Now, it was a couple of plays with the Dolphins and Melvin Ingram getting the sack, Josh Allen fumbling, and Josh Allen getting stopped. So, as Vic Fangio had said yesterday, and again, couldn't find the audio or the video, and said that, they had a lot of plays in the Bills on Sunday night, and they were picking up yards, and guys found ways to make plays at crucial times. You can't live like that in the playoffs. You can't live like that and say you're giving up lots of plays and lots of yards, but we're finding ways on a crucial 3rd and 5 to get a sack, and now that ends the drive. We get a strip sack fumble. inside the red zone. Okay, crucial drive. We get a 4th and 1, Josh Allen quarterback sneak, and we stop him. Okay, good. That's how we're going to live. You can't. You're not going to live. You can't live that way in the playoffs. Chiefs can't live that way in the playoffs.
Right.
I mean, no team can live that way in the playoffs. And I know you're a huge proponent of time of possession.
Oh, I love it. It's really important. It's the only stat you need to know. It's the score and the time of possession.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. This isn't necessarily time of possession. It's more of real time in like what the players were doing out on the field. But the Buffalo Bills. Well, I'll ask you guys.
Okay, let me guess.
In the third quarter and fourth quarter, so second half, the Miami Dolphins ran 17 plays.
Good God, really?
In the second half, they ran 17 plays alone. The Chargers had an 18-play drive to start off the game against the Chiefs that resulted in a Mike Edwards touchdown. The Dolphins ran a total of 17 plays in the second half against the Bills. Time of possession aside.
Sure.
How many plays did the Bills run in the second half?
I mean, they had an entire possession that didn't even happen because of the punt return. That was after the half, right? Yeah, it was the third quarter. The math on this doesn't work, but if I go any higher than this, I'll feel silly. So I'll double. I'll say I'll give you 25 plays for the Bills, to the Dolphins 17.
17?
Yeah, I'll double it, and I think that's probably low.
Double it to 25 or double it to
I'll double it and round up
to 34. Because
I'll go 30. Yeah, I'll double it to 34.
Thank you. Dylan?
I was unexpected math. Scares me. I went 34, which is twice as many as 17, not 25, Dylan, just in case.
Twice as many as 12 and a half.
As that would have been right.
Then I'll do 25.
The Dolphins ran 17 plays in the second half. The Bills ran 42.
Good Lord.
Now, time of possession, I'm with you on that.
Right.
But 42 plays for your defense being out there in one half?
Yes.
As opposed to your offense out there going 3 and out and giving the ball right back.
Right.
That can be a time of possession thing, but there's a little bit of a difference in sort of like that is a worn-down defense. It's a depleted defense. You've got guys that are playing positions and that they haven't been playing all year. You've got guys off the street that are now playing, and in one half of football, they face 42 plays.
That is wild.
I think that's, again, the numbers say the Bills should have won that game by multiple touchdowns,
right,
by a lot, which is why in the third and fourth quarter I'm going, this isn't really close right now. Oh, Miami, please find a way to pull this out. Please find a way to win this game. And then the punt return happened. I'm like, well, they're done.
It felt like the
done.
end because the Bills finally got a lucky shot, and they were the better team all night.
They were the better team. They were going to be the better team the second half, and the Miami Dolphins were holding them at bay because they had the 7-point lead, and it's like you're one big play to Tyreek Hill away from maybe going up 2 scores, and if your defense can continue to play the bend but don't break, make Josh Allen, do something stupid, just hopefully that he'll eventually do something stupid and you'll be fine. But once the punt return happened, it was over because the better team was then going to be playing from even the rest of the way, and that's what they ended up being was the better team and winning only by a touchdown. So to me, it's not like, well, Miami's done this and they only lost by a touchdown to Buffalo. Miami, to their credit and to the plays here or there, only lost by a touchdown. And I understand where the Miami side would come in and go, okay, so that defense was so bad that the defense gave up only 14 points to Buffalo. I get it. Totally understandable. Gave up 14 points to Buffalo and a quarterback that in the second half had a 130 quarterback rating. Yep. And Josh Allen. Josh Allen's second half numbers against the Miami Dolphins. Now, mind you, I mentioned Miami and Tua had a 35 quarterback rating in the second half. Josh Allen completed 14 of 15 passes in the second half for 140 yards and ran the ball 11 more times for 37 yards. I actually don't know how they didn't win by 21.
I don't know. That's unbelievable.
Like legit, how did they not win by 21? But they didn't. Credit Miami. They're a well-coached team. They still have good players on the field. Jalen Ramsey is still a good player. And he is teammates with a Pro Bowler as a returner. Also a wide receiver now, but a Pro Bowler as a returner. Joking with the Ramsey Tyreek Hill stuff. But we'll see. The more and more I look at this, I'm not trying to act like this is going to be the Chiefs versus, Institute of No Thumbs. But the more and more I look at it, the higher and higher the disappointment becomes if they lose.
Yep.
The higher and higher failure becomes if they lose. Not necessarily the higher and higher the spread should be, that they should win by more and more and more as the weeks go on or the days go on. The higher and higher the how in the hell did you not win that game with all of this of the advantages going in and matchups in that game. We'll take a timeout, come back. More Zone next. Chiefs. Wanya Morris not practicing in the what is a Friday walkthrough. So no Wanya Morris. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, as we're talking about, offensive line, or whenever we were getting to that conversation at some point in the first hour, that, if Wanya Morris is going to be playing on Saturday, I'm pretty sure the way that it would work with the concussion protocol, he'd have to be cleared on Saturday. And him not out there today means he didn't practice all week. And a rookie Donovan Smith is out there practicing right now. Whether that's going to be in a limited capacity or not, Wanya Morris not at practice, Donovan Smith at practice. So just something to keep in mind there as the Chiefs are on the practice field, their final walkthrough, getting ready for their first playoff game in this run. One of the most shocking numbers that I read last night. The Miami Dolphins game will be the 14th straight playoff game at Arrowhead for the Chiefs. 14th straight playoff game at Arrowhead for the Chiefs.
So you think they ought to just tank this one on purpose and try to get home field again next year, keep the streak alive?
Why would you ever want to go on the road? Just seems dumb. Two o'clock, an hour from now, we'll hear from Andy Reid, Travis Kelce at the podium. A fast Friday from Andy Reid on a Thursday, with the game being on Saturday, again, just to restate what we said right there at the end of the first hour, Donovan Smith practicing today. He's practiced the last couple of days, but in limited capacity. Today's a walkthrough, but Donovan Smith still out there at practice, and Wanya Morris not practicing yet again today, still in concussion protocol, so that would be no practice this week for the rookie left tackle Wanya Morris. I would say it's more and more likely that Donovan Smith is your starting left tackle tomorrow against the Dolphins, and I would guess an hour from now Andy Reid will confirm that Donovan Smith will be starting at left tackle, which I'm fine with. He started all year until he got injured, and Wanya Morris went and filled in for him. And at times, Wanya Morris looked good, but he has been struggling the last couple of weeks. Let's bring in Kalen Kaler from The Athletic, senior NFL football writer for The Athletic, joining us here in the zone. Kalen, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We are doing just fine. How crazy has today been in the not even the coaching carousel world, because it's not even really spinning yet, but waking up and it's like, oh, by the way, maybe the greatest NFL coach of all time and the greatest college coach of all time are both now done in their current spots. One of them done in retiring. The other one, who knows what his next step is.
Yeah, it's totally wild. And like my first thought was like, are they all conspiring? Like, do they have a plan? Are they in on something that they're going to do together? Because to have Pete Carroll, Belichick, I believe, is going to. I think we all think he's going to end up with another team. Whether that's the Chargers, I don't know, but I feel like he could be a good fit there. I know they're looking for a more established, experienced coach there. But yeah, I think Belichick was going to keep going, but the rest of these guys, Saban, I don't really cover college football, but that was shocking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if there might have been signs of that coming. I don't know that well enough. Pete Carroll was, also really shocking, although there were kind of signs that like this might be ending sometime soon, just because, they're always a competitive team, but they just hadn't been. The defense was slipping, the offense wasn't very good, and it just seems like Pete Carroll's hold on that team, what used to work for them, just wasn't really working anymore. So that one was shocking that it happened, but there were definitely some writing on the wall in the Pete Carroll scenario.
Yeah, the Belichick thing is interesting because, we've heard so much talk about it this year, about this is going to be the end of the Belichick run, and Robert Kraft would not be afraid to move on from him. And then, the reports the last couple of days of the end is near, they're going to meet. And so, but then you see it, and it's, I hate to make this morbid comparison, but if you've got a friend or a family member that is toward the end, it's still different when it actually happens. And so you see the news with Bill Belichick. The real surprise, you mentioned Pete Carroll, but like I didn't expect Seattle and Tennessee to both open up this offseason.
Yeah.
And it's sort of interesting that you've got coaches that are in place that have some tenure to some degree, but those relationships, if they start to sour, even coaches that you feel like are completely safe, it's just time to move on and do something different, because, Vrabel is now going to be a very coveted coach.
Yeah, and I think with Vrabel, I think he just, judging from things I've heard and like what I've seen of his personality, I don't know him very well personally, but I think he's just difficult to work with. I think, he's one of the few I was just having a conversation with an agent this morning, actually, about how there's so few of the old school grumpy coaches left. And, Belichick and Sean Payton are like probably the last two in the NFL. And you could make a connection to Vrabel there. He's not quite that. And he's not necessarily from the Belichick coaching tree, but he does kind of give off that vibe. And I just think that can be difficult. I think it still works with players to some degree, because all the Titans players, from what I've seen publicly, really respect Mike Vrabel and really enjoyed his coaching. So I think it does work with players still if you're getting results. But I think it's difficult to be a teammate of theirs, like a general manager working with a head coach like that, or even an owner dealing with a head coach like that. So I think that was a lot of what happened in Tennessee. Is just, I think Vrabel is a difficult guy to collaborate with.
Do you think Belichick would be willing to just be the coach and not have GM power and responsibility if he were to go to a new team that would want Bill Belichick there? Would he be willing to have a GM that would be picking out the players and he just simply coaches?
I don't know. Based off of his press conference after their last game, on Sunday, it sounded like he was open to that possibility, even in New England. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said something in that press conference that made him seem like he's open to that. I don't have any information personally on whether or not he is open to that. It seems to me, I don't know, it seems like it would be hard at that point in your career when you have had that amount of control for so many years to think that you're going to give that up and that it's going to be a smooth process. That seems a little unrealistic to me, but I think based off of what he said in his press conference, we can assume he's at least open to it. And if I were hiring him, I certainly would not want him to have personnel control.
No.
Just based off of the last, decade of almost decade of New England drafting. So yeah, I think I would not personally be interested in hiring him if he's going to insist on both. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes.
Kaylin Kaler is our guest from The Athletic, senior NFL football writer. There are some great storylines heading into the playoffs this weekend, and certainly locally here, we're talking about Chiefs and Dolphins, and Tyreek Hill returning to Kansas City is a fun storyline, and certainly you've got Mike McCarthy and the Green Bay Packers, and that's a fun one certainly. But the Rams and the Lions, I feel like, is the one that universally people are looking at and going, "No, that's the cool story of Matt Stafford making his return to Detroit, where he got traded from, and Jared Goff facing off against the Rams that traded him for Matt Stafford." People have called it they started to. It's like Matt Stafford revenge game, and I'm like, no, it's Matt Stafford homecoming. I feel like it's maybe a Jared Goff revenge game to a degree. This storyline seems like it's a lot of fun, and throw in the backdrop, Kaylin, that it's their first home playoff game in 30 years in Detroit.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. I actually have a Jared Goff story coming out tomorrow, which is just kind of looking at how important it is to pair your quarterback with a supportive head coach. And for a while in LA, that was true for Jared Goff. When Sean McVay first got there, they worked together well. They were having success, but they were just so different in personality. Like Sean McVay was very image conscious. He was driven by achieving things, by being that guru, by being that, very successful, the most successful young coach he could be. And, I was talking to Andrew Whitworth, who was on those Rams teams with Jared and is very close friends with Sean McVay and Jared to this day. And he described it as, if you can't keep up with Sean McVay's intense pace, if you're not willing to match that pace, it's really hard for you to keep up with him. And Jared is a much more casual, laid-back guy. That's just not his personality. He's motivated by people and humans and relationships, not by achieving things necessarily. So they just kind of became in conflict once defenses figured out their offense. And so, it was the best for both of them to trade him to Detroit. And it's just really interesting to see how Jared's personality really lines up with Dan Campbell's, which is, Dan is, you always see him, he's hugging his players all the time. He's very positive. Like, one of the things I wrote about is that at the end of Jared's time in LA, Sean McVay was criticizing him publicly, calling him out for turnovers and things like that. And so, with Dan Campbell, you never hear him say that about Jared Goff. Like, even when Goff has multi-turnover games, which he's had, I think, 3 of this season so far. So it's not like he's perfect in Detroit. He still has moments where he struggles. But Dan Campbell will never throw him under the bus. He's never going to say, a bad word about him. He's always saying collectively as an offense, we had problems, but never just Jared. And I think that's really important. And we've seen that as a theme. Like, speaking of, you mentioned, the Dolphins obviously coming to the Chiefs this weekend. Like, we've seen that with Tua and Mike McDaniel. Same story of a head coach really supporting his quarterback and it making all of the difference in their transformation.
It's Kaylin Kaler's, I guess. That's really interesting because when you were talking about Sean McVay and, him being that sort of intense coach and Jared Goff, not really meshing with that, more of a laid back guy. And I start to think, I'm like, well, then how is he working with Dan Campbell? But the way you describe it there's different, quote, intense approaches. Dan Campbell's very intense as a coach that wants to eat kneecaps, but he wants to eat kneecaps with the rest of his players, I guess, personally.
He wants to do it together.
Together. Let's all eat this kneecap together. You get a piece, you get a piece. And Sean McVay is very intense about success and driven by that. And I don't want to say people be damned, but if that's secondary, it's secondary. That's really interesting because they're both intense, but a different intense that can match with different quarterbacks and really get that quarterback-coach combination, which is tough to find. Certainly in Kansas City, we're all spoiled with that, but there in Detroit, and why it works with Dan Campbell and Jared Goff and why it didn't ultimately work in L.A. with Sean McVay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's going to be a really fun game to watch. I'm picking the Lions, personally.
Okay.
But we'll see. I can see it going either way, but I personally am picking the Lions.
Yeah. Visiting with Kaylin Kaler, the Athletic, joining us, and looking forward to that Jared Goff piece coming out tomorrow, because looking at that, relationship there, and that is one of the things that, we've talked about here in Kansas City about, Patrick Mahomes has talked about how he is ended up in a perfect situation and understands how lucky he is. And we see the falling out that took place with Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson eventually. And maybe there was more to that whole thing as Russell Wilson as a quarterback as we thought. But the local perspective of that was, hey, you know what? At any point, if you're not taking care of your QB1 that can go and win you a Super Bowl, it doesn't mean he's going to be there the rest of his career. Aaron Rodgers ends up in New York with the Jets, where he was going to be a lifer there in Green Bay. But there's a certain level of luck that goes into it, I guess, Kaylin, in finding those quarterbacks and that coach that meshes. Because Andy Reid might be a little tough on quarterbacks, could be, in trying to get the best out of them. And Patrick Mahomes is a guy that's going to be very intense in studying. And it feels like their personalities, sort of like puzzle pieces, align. And that's how you get the success that the Chiefs have had. And I said the stat before we went to break, Kaylin, that this is the 14th straight home playoff game for the Chiefs against the Miami Dolphins. It will be their 14th straight home playoff game, which is unbelievable to think about. And it's the 12th straight with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that's wild. And I think the Chiefs will win this game because Miami, we saw this happen to them last year. They just run out of steam at the end of the season with injuries. It's just the worst injury luck. I mean, last year, at least this season, they have Tua playing in their playoff game. Last year they had Skylar Thompson, I believe, who at the time was their third-string quarterback. So at least they have Tua this time, but the injuries on defense are just astounding. They're down their top 4 linebackers, and they're not coming back. So that is a big issue for these Dolphins, and it's a bummer because I think that that Miami team is really fun to watch, and who knows, maybe they'll pull something together, but it just feels like they are a little too beat up and banged up at this point to really challenge in Kansas City at Arrowhead.
Is this a season where you kind of go through and it's just one of those, New England Patriots had a number of years between Super Bowls, and they didn't go to the Super Bowl every single year, even though, they won 6 with Belichick and Tom Brady. It sort of feels like that dynasty was always there. But there were times they lost in the divisional round. There was a wild card loss. There was obviously when Brady got hurt, there was no playoff appearance that particular year. Does this feel like one of those to you with the Chiefs where you just look back and go, they went to 3 or 4 Super Bowls. You're not going to go every single year. They had hosted 5 straight AFC championship games. Or do you still look at it and go, you know what, we talk about Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. They should take care of the Miami Dolphins. Then you're talking about a couple of one-game settings in the playoffs, depending on who wins or loses, that there is still that element of it's the Chiefs, and you could see them in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it feels to me like it's more of an in-between year, just because I think the offense really needed to grow. The receivers were young, and you can't expect them to mature the way that you need them in one season. And so, yeah, to me it feels like an in-between year, but I do think the defense is really good and, better than we've seen previously. So I think it's possible for them to go on a run, but I'm more inclined to say that it's one of those in-between years where they need to develop those young receivers.
Who do you have the most confidence in as you look at these teams in the playoffs? Is it as simple as the 49ers and Ravens, or are there another team or two that you feel pretty confident that if they're in Vegas, it would not be a surprise to you?
I think definitely Ravens. I think the NFC is a lot more of a question mark to me because I could see the Lions going. I could see the Cowboys going. I could see the Niners going. I think those are probably the 3 NFC teams that I would predict could go all the way. I think the AFC is a little bit more Ravens loaded. And then we got Browns, Texans on Saturday.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, so I think that should be a really exciting game. I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans won. Although, I think Joe Flacco is playing really good football right now, and his postseason history bodes well for him. So the Browns, I think, are also really interesting, and I think it would be just a very fascinating storyline if they were to go all the way without the quarterback that they are paying so much money to.
I mean, ridiculous amount of money. All right, who do you have Super Bowl? Who over who in the Super Bowl this year? Are you predicting before the playoffs get started?
I don't think I've even actually made a Super Bowl prediction. This is so hard. Maybe Cowboys.
Wow, okay. I like it already.
Yeah, I kind of just want to pick someone other than the Niners.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, absolutely.
Cowboys, Ravens. I think the Ravens will win. I don't know. Let's say like 28-21.
All right, we'll see. We'll see what takes place with that. Kaylin Kaler, the Athletic senior NFL football writer, has that piece coming out tomorrow on Jared Goff. Looking forward to that as well. Kaylin, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the football, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Absolutely. There's Kaylin Kaler joining us from The Athletic, and she'll be at that game. Gets the playoffs started on, I almost said tomorrow, on Saturday.
It's basically a Friday. It's a Friday for the Chiefs,
It's a Friday for the kids as well with their snow day tomorrow.
What if we just don't come in tomorrow?
Should we get a snow day tomorrow?
Yeah, what if we just say, hey, today's Friday, and we just the bit in The Office where Dwight thinks it's a day earlier than it is? He comes in a pant. What if we just let it go tomorrow?
We should totally do that. What if we just spent the rest of the day talking to Chad and Todd of just hey man, happy Friday. What are you doing tomorrow? Oh, yeah. Are you going to the game tomorrow? They just keep saying tomorrow. I'm like, it's Friday. Hey, Chad,
Rebecca
TGIF,
Black
man.
pumping. Yes.
TGIF, man. You know what? Tomorrow, Saturday. Tomorrow's
There's a lot of
all
good
night
songs
for
about
fighting.
Saturday. There's a lot of good songs about Saturday. Wow.
I was going to say we could do the old method of just putting a bunch of water on their driveways overnight so that when they wake up tomorrow, they think it's too frozen to come into work.
Is that right?
That's a good-
Yes.
The old method, you say? I didn't know this was an old
Used
method.
to work with superintendents for schools sometimes, of that nature. So.
Interesting. Okay.
Take
So,
one of these water jugs with us. And
so
then
they wake up and look outside and I can't get out of my driveway. No way.
Lebo looks around like, it's weird that only my driveway is an ice rink.
That is odd.
I can see their grass across the street. What happened?
I don't see any snow or ice anywhere but my driveway. Well, it can't just be mine. It's no way we can have school today.
You got to come in for post game on tomorrow anyway. So I mean, I'll be here, but then I won't have to be here as early. I'll get here by the time the game kicks off and everything. So that sounds great. All right, Jason, I'll see you on Monday.
So I was just reading a thing that they had on the bottom line at ESPN, and I did not see the word "not." And it said, after extensive interviews, the Chicago Bears are making a coaching change. I didn't see the word "not" when I first read through it. And it said, after extensive conversations and meetings, the Bears are not making a coaching change with Matt Eberflus. He will return for one more year. And that was already
the way you said it. It might have been a Freudian slip, but it's what it feels like. He's returning for one more year.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I
Yes.
mean, but right?
It's a good point.
The Bears have done that like three times.
We'll return next year. That's a great point. That was totally a Freudian slip. That he'll return for one more year. We'll see how he does. But that was something that had already been talked about, that Eberflus was going to return. It was just that when the bottom line went down and I saw the "not," and I'm like, or missed the or not making. I'm like, so now they decided that they're going. Apparently, everybody they wanted to get involved. Well, we got 8 teams open. Let's make it an even 9 times. Let's go back to Ferris Bueller. 9 times.
I gotta write my Bears take real quick. So first of all, this is great points by Courtney Cronin, who tweeted about this. First of all, you're going to have to hire an offensive coordinator who thinks that Matt Eberflus is going to be around for more than 1 year. I don't know that Eric Bieniemy wants this job, and Eric Bieniemy might need this job because you did that thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's money, so you can
Money
get paid
helps.
a little bit more, but you're going there essentially with a lame duck coach.
Exactly. Unless they extend Eberflus, which is a whole other bag of worms. Do worms come in bags? Probably a can of worms or a bag of something else. Then with Justin Fields,
A lot of Bears fans would like him to go eat a bag.
Courtney makes the point that if the Bears keep Justin Fields, they'll be asking him to learn his third offense in 4 years. But the craziest thing to me is this is what the Bears do. The thing you just slipped on is exactly what the Bears do, because she makes this point. They perpetuate the same cycle they've seen with John Fox, Mitchell Trubisky, then Trubisky, Matt Nagy, then Nagy, Justin Fields, then Fields, Matt Eberflus, and now Eberflus and whatever quarterback they potentially draft.
Then new coach, and then that quarterback in their second year.
That's the cycle where they draft a quarterback, or they start with a rookie quarterback in a lame duck year, fire that head coach, bring in another coach for that quarterback. They've done that so many times now, and they don't seem to think that it's part of the problem. It's really confusing.
The playoffs this weekend are bookended by the 2 road teams that are favored. So it starts with Cleveland at Houston, Cleveland favored by 2 on the road at Houston, and it ends with Philadelphia heading to Tampa Bay and Philadelphia favored by 3. The rest of them all, pretty decent favorites. The closer one is the Rams and Detroit by 3, but you got Dallas 7.5. You got Buffalo that's favored by 10, and the Chiefs sitting at 4.5. That thing's moved a full field goal to the Chiefs from 1.5 to 4.5, and the total has found its level at 44, 47.5, all the way down to 42.5, then back up to 44. The water there has found its level because it stayed there for a little bit of time, sitting at 44. But
I think there's a little bit of a weather overreaction to that. I haven't
At the
touched the
beginning?
game yet. Yeah, I think hammering the under was a lot of people going, it's going to be really cold, and the Chiefs' defense is good, and the offense hasn't been good enough to capitalize on bad defenses. But it's not going to be wet and windy. It's going to be freezing.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be a monsoon game. So 44 feels tempting. Right around there. I still haven't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I got it.
I don't know yet.
I mean,
Going under at 47.5 is great.
I should have got under at 47.5, and then when it got down to 42.5, gone over.
Yeah, sure.
And that would have had a nice little 5-point middle there. That would have been nice.
Would have been good.
Coming up on Saturday, not tomorrow. On Saturday, KU Oklahoma 1 o'clock right here on Sports Radio 810. But when that game is over and post game is done, it'll be the Browns and the Texans at 3:30 right here on Sports Radio 810. Leading into Chiefs and Dolphins, that we will have the post game. We as in Josh, we as a station. Josh,
Me and Dylan. That's
post
most of us here.
game. Oh, I guess Covell's not going to be a part of it. Then.
Well, he's not here right now. Saying us.
Just saying, like if
It's
you
me
want
and Dylan.
if you want to not include him, that's a situation and a conversation you guys are going to have on Saturday. I'm just saying I would include him.
We would fall apart without Covell, so I would definitely include him.
I'm just saying I agree with that. And then on Sunday we've got the triple header for you right here on Sports Radio 810 with Bills, Steelers, Packers, Cowboys, Rams, Lions, and of course Sunday morning. While Saturday night post-game with you on into Sunday morning, Sterling Holmes hosting a 2.5-hour Chiefs playoff special. Hopefully that is previewing who the Chiefs will be playing based on the Bills and Steelers game, if they will be playing, because we'll know who won between Houston and Cleveland. So it'll be, are they playing, let's just say Cleveland, or are they heading to Buffalo to face off against the Bills? So we'll see. But that comes up Sunday morning. If you're driving around and you want a Chiefs fix, you got a 2.5-hour show with Sterling talking nothing but Chiefs and playoffs with that coming up on Sunday morning. So we've got the football for you right here on your home for the NFL, college basketball, college football, the national championship, the NBA, World Series, the home for everything that is bleeping great, including Todd Lebo, who will be working the locker room today with the Chiefs and their final press conference getting ready for the Miami Dolphins on Saturday. I'm confident in the game, but there's also the worry that we could be watching the last game of the season for the Chiefs this year on Saturday night, the last post game for Josh Brisco on Saturday night. Nobody wants that. Well, Josh doesn't want to be.
No,
around
not even me.
Josh doesn't want to be around Covell, apparently.
No, listen,
so-
I don't want to. I don't.
No, it's fine.
Do I want them to win and then maybe get a game with a slightly earlier time slot? I'd
see.
take it. I'd take it. And then the Super Bowl even starts like an hour or so earlier, and I don't complain about Super Bowl postgame shows. That's never been a problem for me.
The Super Bowl postgame show's not going to start until like 11.
You pay me.
Who did I hurt in a previous life to have to fall? Am I forever cursed?
Pay me for the first 20 postgame shows, and I'll do the Super Bowl for free. That's my Ray Lewis. Pay me for Monday through Saturday, and I work Sunday for free.
Why, God?
I also do the Ray Lewis dance for every postgame show. People don't know this, but it's why our carpet out there is just shredded. I forget that I need to try to get some fake grass or something.
Why hast thou forsaken me? Late night Super Bowl postgame shows. Am I forever cursed?
I will say that one of those kind of had that vibe. One of them did sound kind of like that.
Touche, sir. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and continue rolling. More Zone next. We'll play a little sports or leisure coming up in the 1 o'clock hour after press conferences are over. Not sure how much we can play some sports or leisure, but we'll try to do that. $25 for Johnny's Tavern. Today at Johnny's Tavern in Lee Summit, Todd Lebo will be broadcasting live from 4 until 6 o'clock, and Dylan will be there as well. They'll be just hanging out, talking with you there at Johnny's, and everyone who stops in will be registered to win 2 tickets to see Mizzou take on Arkansas in basketball in Columbia. All you got to do is show up, sign up. It's Johnny's in West Lee Summit. You can find all of the Johnny's locations at johnnystavern.com. Todd Lebo there today from 4 to 6. We'll be giving away $25 to Johnny's Tavern in Sports or Leisure. Hopefully we can get a decent amount of time to play some sports or leisure coming up today. Josh is really dumb.
Yeah, so far so good.
That's not true.
No.
He's so stupid.
Yeah.
How stupid is he?
How stupid am I? How stupid is he?
That's stupid. He didn't know that T. Higgins was teammates with Cornell Powell and Isaiah Simmons at Clemson.
Explicitly untrue.
You are so stupid.
Explicitly untrue, much to the surprise of everyone on
How
Twitter.
did you not know that? You work in sports and you didn't know that Isaiah Simmons and Cornell Powell are teammates at Clemson?
I couldn't remember which of you made the local connection to Isaiah Simmons, which is why I tagged all of you in the tweet. I wasn't sure who to
That's fine.
credit.
You can
I'm
include
sorry.
Dylan and Mick.
I felt like worst case
fine.
scenario, they would just get sideswiped by other people who can't read on Twitter.
If I had $1 for every time a family member was like, "Oh, I heard Mick make this point," I'm like, "I said that."
No, it was salient. It was really smart. I think it was Mick.
I said that.
I think Mick said it.
No, I said. What are you talking about? I said that. Whatever. If it had to do with numbers, I said that.
That's definitely true. That I would pass that test 100 times in a row.
But no, because I had joked and I'm like, wow, Cornell Powell jersey behind, because it was an actual Chiefs jersey.
Yes.
Like behind T. I'm like, oh wait, that's Isaiah Simmons. I got Isaiah Simmons. He's coming to Kansas City. Lock it up. Championship.
Also, sorry, you may want to play the clip. You may be leading up to the clip. I don't know. I don't want to jump ahead two gears.
No, it's what we talked about at 5 o'clock this morning in the pre-show meeting.
I saw it on the sheet, and I thought, why else am I up at 4:30 every day if not to make sure we can have every segment of this show essentially scripted? Of course, I screwed up the line of how dumb is he because I'm so dumb. But other than that, everything today has gone according to the script, including the Bill Belichick presser.
That's right. On that particular interview with T. Higgins having jerseys of Kansas City guys and a connection to Kansas City because he wants to sign with the Chiefs. I mean, that's pretty obvious.
What's happening?
It's the Kevin Garnett, can't beat him, join him thing. They were asked who they want to see win the Super Bowl, and Jamar Chase had the most Jamar Chase answer you could possibly imagine. I appreciate Jamar Chase saying anybody but the Chiefs.
I do too. I have a hashtag scoop for you from our own Sterling Holmes.
Okay.
He talked in the same car wash. That's a term, not a literal. Anyway, he talked to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase for, I think, paper towels that they're promoting. Not a joke. And he said that T. Higgins was the first one to say anybody but the Chiefs when he talked to them.
But he talked to them after ESPN did.
He talked to them before ESPN
No.
did. This is according to Sterling Holmes. I got to see if he's tweeted out the clip or not yet, because we may need to corroborate this. But he came in absolutely fuming yesterday.
That ESPN got that?
Dylan and I were down there, and he turned the course like, dude, we were just talking about, you said you were talking. He's like, I talked to them, and they said the same thing, and I didn't get the video back before ESPN got theirs. I said, look, man, that's the hustle right there. You got to turn that around.
So T. Higgins is maybe not sending out the bat signal that he's signing with the Chiefs?
He said a little funny thing when he was talking to Stu.
Oh, that's right.
He's on ESPN with the jerseys behind him?
Did he know that Stu was in Kansas City, and that's why T. Higgins said anybody but the Chiefs?
A great question.
Because he was on in KC.
A great question. I don't know.
Keeping the rivalry going. I appreciate Jamar Chase saying that, and even T. Higgins saying that. That's perfectly fine. The flip side of that is Chiefs fans don't have to worry about that for the Bengals.
Yeah, it's not something you have to contend with. They just simply don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, don't worry, Jamar. No Chiefs fan will have to say anybody but the Bengals in the playoffs, because that was a few weeks ago.
Okay, I can just out of my computer speakers play the 15-second Sterling's Taylor's version. This is T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, Sterling's version.
I got to hear this. Go.
It's tough right now, man. It's tough. It's tough. I don't know. Anybody but Casey.
That's T. Higgins.
You too? Anyone but Casey? Anybody but Casey. That's what I'm sticking with.
All right. Well, that's what I'm sticking with.
Hold on. Have they been working with that?
Does Stu know that he was first for sure? That he was on beat? That he interviewed them before ESPN interviewed them?
Dylan,
because he might have interviewed them before ESPN played the video. But was that taped, that video, or was that live with ESPN?
This is a good point. This is a great question. Do you know this, Dylan?
I do not know this. That's a great point. I'm also wondering if when T got in front of the, not to disparage, but in front of the ESPN lights on Sports Center, backed off that when Jamar went out first on the limb, and T didn't go out with him.
Call Sterling.
I'm do that.
Call Sterling real quick.
Or maybe T did not want to be viewed on ESPN as following Jamar in Anybody But the Chiefs. When Jamar says that, and T's like, you just stole my line.
I think
I got to go see about a girl. That son of a gun just stole my line.
Based on their pressers and interviews, T. Higgins is having a better time in all of these, so I could see him being the one that's like, anybody but the Chiefs, and Jamar Chase is just ready. He's ready for just the quick barb, and let's get out of here.
Well, the next game that T. Higgins plays, I mean, he's gonna have like $60 million in the bank.
That's true too.
So
that's true.
Jamar has made some money, and he's up for an extension this offseason. But T. Higgins is a free agent. He's going to have, $60 million guaranteed in the bank by the time he goes and plays football again.
Was his agent on the phone call there?
Maybe.
And did after he talked to Stu, did he say, "Hey, T, listen,
whoa,
you know the Chiefs have been sniffing around. You know the Chiefs are looking for receivers.
You understand the Chiefs need a number one receiver.
You got to keep this down a little bit." Jamar, you keep that line. That's a
funny
funny line.
Wouldn't it be awesome to play with a great quarterback like Patrick Mahomes? A true franchise guy like Patrick Mahomes.
Tell your kids you got to catch passes from Patrick Mahomes.
Can you imagine what your stats would be like if you played with a franchise quarterback, T?
They do have a history of suppressing the stats of the number one wide receivers, according to Tyreek Hill, but
only to drive up the trade value. Duh.
Which is how that works.
Yes, that's right.
Obviously.
All right, Stu, what's the deal? What happened here with this? Did you get them first? Did ESPN steal your shine?
Well, great question,
Thank you.
Jason.
Thank you.
I don't know, man. I don't know who was first. I did it yesterday morning, so it may have been me. I just didn't get the video back in time. Who would have thought that maybe ESPN gets priority? Kind of crazy thought process there. They get a little extra love than I do. But no, I thought it was pretty interesting that T. Higgins, though, when I asked him, it was the first to respond into Jamar.
And you've had good, long conversations with Jamar Chase in the past, right?
I have had multiple conversations that ended, I wouldn't say long, I would say a lot of one-word answers from Jamar in the past.
So he seems to be somebody that's really excited to do these little car wash interview things. So he's a willing participant in doing some of these interviews.
Well, what I will say, at least in regards to this previous one, I did not bring up anything Kansas City at all. That was totally brought up on their own accord. It wasn't like I was asking a leading question like, hey, I'm here in Kansas City. Who do you think wins the Super Bowl? No. They brought up the Chiefs on their own accord, so maybe a little rent-free situation going on there.
Did they know you were in Kansas City, even though you didn't bring up any? So they had no idea this was an interview taking place in Kansas City. It's just T. Higgins said anybody but KC.
Correct.
Interesting. That is rent-free.
Which I don't know what that means in regards to the potential free agency situation of T. Higgins coming to Kansas City, but take that as you will.
Well, it certainly would affect, to me, I would probably not pay him anything more than $26 million per year to bring him in if I'm the Chiefs. He's not worth it at that point. Okay, fine. Whatever. I'd love to see T. Higgins play with a franchise quarterback, what that would look like. That would be amazing if he's able to do that. But I do love the rent-free aspect from both T and Jamar Chase saying the Chiefs.
Yeah, I thought it was very, very interesting. Again, T. Higgins' first one there. Jamar kind of followed up, but that's just Jamar Chase. He's a little bit quieter. I don't know if you noticed, looked like T. Higgins had a, Cornell Powell jersey hanging in his in his room right there.
Also Isaiah Simmons. So two guys that have Kansas City connections. Obviously, T. Higgins sending out the bat signal. He's signing with the Chiefs.
Only makes sense.
Did you ask him about Cornell Powell at all? If he has been in touch, if maybe there's been any conversations there?
I did not ask him about Cornell Powell. I did ask him about his impending free agency, what it was like, just the excitement level about potentially entering a new chapter. A lot of boilerplate answers right there, nothing too in-depth. Obviously says, I would love to stay a Cincinnati Bengal, but he will see. That's basically what it comes down to.
We're on the road to the playoffs, brought to you by Greenlight Dispensary. Talking to Sterling Holmes right now. Outstanding customer service, superior product, and continuously voted Missouri's best. GreenlightDispensary.com. Sterling, last one from me. How did that conversation change the way that you plan to consume your paper towel habits going forward?
I learned a lot from Bounty right there. If you have wings, you must have Bounty. I learned that they are the perfect little wingman. So that's what I learned from that thing.
So that's why they were together, because who's the wingman there? In that, question. I mean, that's we would all, I guess, assume that T. Higgins would be Jamar Chase's wingman, but I can't imagine T. Higgins sees it that way. Who's the wingman in that group?
Hey, I tried even throwing T. Higgins' name first to see if Jamar Chase would say anything. I tried doing a little 3D chess there to see if that would get under Jamar's skin.
Most chess is 3D.
Well, that's fair. I will say Jamar Chase finally gave some credit to the Chiefs defense. I will grant him that. He did say L'Jarius Sneed in that defense is pretty darn good. I'll be playing the full interview tonight on Sports Radio 810 as well.
What? So you asked him specifically about that? Because now you've brought up something Kansas City. So now you've sort of lied to us and said that there wasn't any Kansas City talk. And
but
then
he didn't know us from Kansas City. I talked about trash talking. I said, You are the Reggie Miller. You obviously enjoy trash talking going back to the Kansas City game.
I see.
Were there any dudes chirping at you on the field?
I see.
And then he basically went off and was talking about how they have a good defense. And as a leader, he was trying to get under their skin a little bit, but maybe he shouldn't do that since his teammates look up to him.
So he didn't say anything about setting up a fight with L'Jarius Sneed because the MFer wouldn't fight him. He didn't go down that road?
He brought up a little bit about fighting. I got a little confused in the answer because, you'll listen to it tonight, or if anyone who wants to take a listen to it on 810 tonight. He kind of loses his train of thought there for a moment. He's playing with a rubber band for some reason because that obviously it takes precedence.
Does he have a rubber band that he snaps in case he's about to say something stupid? Well, you know what? Let me say this about you. You know what? They good defense. Good defense is agents like, look, man, come on, Jamar.
If you get a third try, just have a fidget spinner that you're just spinning in the webcam constantly.
You're there for bounty. Understand? You're there for bounty. All right. Be magnanimous. All right. Be bounty.
Do you guys remember silly bands back in like middle school?
Yeah.
That's basically the feeling I had was a silly band type aspect. It was a rubber band, but I think Jamar's too young for the silly band craze.
It was actually a Taylor Swift friendship bracelet. People don't realize that.
Wow.
So
that's 2D chess right there.
It's 1D chess.
Oh.
For this interview. Okay, very good. I do think we need to try to find out whether it's through their PR or whoever set up the interviews, if we can find out who was first, you or ESPN, because I think that's a big piece of information here. Because if you were first, then it is T. Higgins that started the whole who do you want to see win? Anybody but KC. But if you went after ESPN, then T. Higgins was just following the lead of one Jamar Chase.
I can let you my interview started yesterday at 11:03 a.m. I don't know when ESPN started. Mine was 11:03 a.m.
Okay.
Can you just reach back out to the paper towel people and just ask him to clean this one up for us?
Can you call Mr. Bounty?
Call Mr. Clean. He knows Mr. Bounty.
God, I've totally skimmed by you saying clean this one up for us.
That's all right, man. Hey, listen, if you want to talk about bounties, I think Sean Payton will be available sometime around the Combine.
Hopefully, Rashee Rice will find a wingman, wide receiver wingman there. And Dan Lanning right now has wings as he's on TV because he is doing an interview right in front of the huge-ass Oregon logo that has wings. So he is essentially the O, and there are wings coming. He looks like an angel right now. He's flying.
I think that he may have actually just gotten like angel's wings from courtesy of Nike here.
Yeah. Look, Daddy. Every time a coach gets an extension, an angel gets its wings. That's right. Yeah, that's what they say. It's angels' wings and extensions for coaches and shaving. Yeah. Stu, thank you, sir. We'll be listening in tonight, and then also Sunday morning with a little Chiefs playoff special starting at 9 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, baby. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. If you didn't know, I was just letting you know. So just in case,
Yeah.
in case you were unaware.
Thanks for keeping me updated on the old show sheet there.
Hey, am I still on tonight, Stu, or can I go home after this?
Brisco, I texted you. You're still on tonight. We're making radio magic.
Yeah, you'll be there for sure. All right, bye.
I think it's. I can't wait for Josh to say anybody but the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. Thank you, Stu. Great stuff.
Incredible.
All right. Now we just got to get. Honestly, I do want the detail. I want to know who went first. What came first? The cart or the chicken?
I know Stu laid an egg.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We will hear from Andy Reid, and we believe we will hear from Travis Kelce at the podium today. I wonder how much of a Fast Friday it will be for Andy Reid. In a typical Fast Friday, it's a few questions and then, and gone, Andy Reid. There is a playoff game coming up.
Ding.
Oh, that's right. Travis Kelce will also be there.
Ding, ding.
In attendance. Official
Ding.
time and temperature, 1 o'clock, -2.
Ding, ding.
Brought to you by the parking spot. Easy to spot, easy to park. Parking spot at 1 Arrowhead Drive.
Ding, ding.
Travis Kelce is practicing without sleeves.
Ooh.
Just so everybody knows.
Interesting. Badass.
Yeah,
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care at all, man.
He doesn't care.
Say he's a honey badger, but that nickname is taken.
He actually cut off his shoulder pad, so it just looks like he's just wearing a
He
sleeveless
actually
shirt.
practiced fully in the nude, just the helmet.
You think he sleeps naked? Only when he's nude. I can't remember what movie that's
That's
from.
good, because I don't know.
No, it's like, do you sleep in the nude? Only when I'm naked. All right,
No
great.
sleeves and shorts for
Wow.
Kelce, by the way. I mean, he's got helmet, gloves, and
Well,
let's see, Blake Bell fully suited up.
thank God it's not -2 right now, since it's still, 30 degrees?
Yeah, I feel like if you're running around at practice, I feel like you can
Yeah.
make sleeveless work here.
It's 34 degrees right now.
Not a problem.
Loaded weapon, that's what it was. Yeah. 34 degrees right now. That's a little different than 0. That's
See,
in fact,
Mahomes
it's
wearing
34
sleeves.
degrees. Mahomes wearing sleeves? Oh God, how's he going to make it?
it?
He's a Texas guy. His blood is used to the warmer temperature. Has he ever played in a cold game before?
He wore sleeves and that weird little neck warmer thing.
Oh, the neck warmer. You can't go out there and play well if you're wearing the neck warmer.
I don't think you can wear the neck warmer. I've only seen him wear that in a handful of games that the Chiefs have mostly won.
Maybe Kadarius Toney should think about taking the little face mask thing off this go around.
Kadarius Toney out there in sweats and what looks like a hoodie underneath his jersey.
Yeah, but is he also wearing the full face thing that the only thing that's cut out is the eyes?
Just his little
Just the eyes?
Zorro mask almost.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It's hard to tell with his helmet on over it, but I'm
Okay.
confident that he is.
Yeah.
Kadarius Toney pretty much always, as far as I've seen, is wearing either a beanie or
Yeah.
a full-on balaclava.
Yeah, maybe take the balaclava off and catch the Bali next time.
Not to be confused with baklava, which is delicious but not great for wearing.
But also gets all over your hands before you're going to catch a football. And although
Sticky.
it should be sticky, yeah.
Sticky with
maybe,
honey.
Maybe put it on your hands.
Maybe
next
Kadarius
time.
Toney needs a baklava and a balaclava. I would say 2 birds, 1 stone. Really, it's 1 football player, 2 similar sounding things that are very different. It's not as catchy.
2 passes, 1 pick six.
And he's on at least that pace, I think.
Yeah. Oh well, it's got that going for him, which is nice.
Like Dave Toad mentioned yesterday, they have the heating system in the field itself, so it shouldn't be complete. It won't be a frozen tundra on the playing surface, which is good. There's snow you can see on the practice videos today off to the side, but it's been cleared off even at practice facilities.
We are lucky in that the Chiefs have one of the best grounds crew.
Yep.
And sod fathers, future sod fathers, and voted, maybe not number 1, but voted by players as one of the better surfaces to play on.
Yep.
So I am not expecting it to be rock, that they're falling on ice or anything. They're going to fall on grass.
As long as Eddie Mangan keeps his grubby little hands off the turf.
Eddie Mangan, you lied.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, when Andy Reid gets to the podium, we'll head out to One Arrowhead Drive and hear from the Chiefs head coach, getting ready for the Miami Dolphins, looking forward to the challenge of facing off against the Miami Dolphins. Wanya Morris was not at practice today. Donovan Smith was. That's the only one that I had seen as any sort of an update as to those who are practicing and not practicing.
Tony also spotted. Aaron Ladd tweeted that out.
There we go. So, and he had returned to practice yesterday, right? Or was limited even a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the only person that didn't practice yesterday, Wanya Morris, also did not practice today. That would, I would guess, lead you to believe that Andy Reid's going to tell you here in a second that Donovan Smith is the starting left tackle.
I bet if he's asked about it, I'm sure he'll say that's what they'll do. He didn't ever make a ruling on Pacheco, who eventually made it back, also on a 6-day turnaround. I don't know.
I wonder what Andy Reid will say if he's asked if Donovan Smith can't go.
Right, good question.
Here's Andy Reid.
Wanya Morris will be listed as out. Everybody else has a chance. Taking the two receivers day to day that we talked about. So we'll see how they go. Look forward to the challenge of playing the Dolphins again. Should be a great environment up at the stadium here. And I know our fans will be fired up and ready to go. With that, time's yours.
Andy, you thinking Donovan Smith will be ready to go?
Yeah.
Will he start for you?
Probably.
You say the two receivers are Rashid and Tony, right?
No, Justin Ross and Tony, yeah.
If Tony does play, what do you expect from him?
It'd be limited role, yeah.
Coach, Travis takes a beating all the time because he's getting all kinds of attention. To have that week off, are you expecting a fresh and restored? I mean, have you seen him practice a little more pep in his step?
Yeah, well, I think the time off, helped the guys that had the time off, him being one of them. He's had a lot of snaps, in his time, so any time off like that definitely helps.
Coach, a couple things have happened around the league in the last couple of days. Bill Belichick today stepping away from New England. I wonder if his thoughts on competing with him all these years, and Pete Carroll yesterday competed with him a lot.
Yeah, no, those are two great coaches. I mentioned after our game that Bill's the best I've gone against, so I don't know if they're done coaching or not, but I know, they're done at that particular, at their spot, so, but great coaches, phenomenal coaches, yeah.
And one of the things that Bill did for all those years was he was deeply involved in the personnel, and I know you did that for a while. Yeah. Do you believe he did that for all those years?
Yeah, that's a tough thing to do for that long. He did it well, though, so, yeah. Great.
Well, with Belichick and then Nick Saban, they both kind of revolutionized the defense in college and in the pros, and with you kind of revolutionizing offense in the pros, is it something you look at on their side of defense was like the thing that they've made kind of move over the years?
Yeah, well, I'd put Pete in that with that whole Seattle 3 deal that they had going. That's those guys are tough. They were tough to compete against because of that. They great adjusters for you. What you're throwing at them on one side, they're throwing some stuff back at you, and they did a nice job adjusting. So.
Coach, I know you've been outside and you guys have been working out there, and you're dressed up a little more, but the sub-zero-ness, it's probably the coldest that is ever going to be here for a playoff game to this point. Was there anything you could do to prepare people for that?
No, listen, no. I mean, cold's cold. For you, me, I mean, it's cold is cold, but you go do your thing. That's how you go play.
I mean, do you tell them to go play and then go stand by the warmer and then put their, I mean, are there certain things that,
there's one thing you don't have to do, and that's tell them to stand by the warmer.
Andy, I know this question gets asked just about this time every year, but considering with Pete and with Bill, do you intend to be the coach next season?
I haven't even thought about that, Nate. I mean, I'm thinking about one thing. I've figured that would come up when you guys were asking these questions, because I'm old, so, but not that old.
Coach, yesterday I interviewed a guy who took a class from you at the University of Missouri, Introduction to Football. You and the assistant coaches taught it. And he changed his major to education. And for the last 31 years, he's been a football coach and a teacher in high school. And he said that you kindled something in the offensive coordinator, Dirk Hunter. Do you remember that class? Do you remember?
I do. A lot of fun. It was a fun class to be a part of. Yeah. So, yeah, I do remember it.
He said that you got an interesting way to coach offensive line, marry the hips.
Yeah, do you want me to explain? We'll pass on that one.
Yeah. You good? All right, great. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
All right, there's Andy Reid. We'll hear from Travis Kelce when he gets there. Wanya Morris out. Kadarius Toney, Justin Ross. We'll see how they go day to day. Even if Toney played, he said he'd be limited in his role. Donovan Smith playing, yes. Starting, probably. No follow-up as to who would play left tackle if not Donovan Smith. He would probably just answer. Well, we'll see how that would go. We'll just have to see how that would go. Nate Taylor asking him about retirement, and he says he's not even thinking about that. I hadn't even thought about it. I knew that you would ask me that question when we came in here. So you have thought about it?
He maybe had thought about it for a minute or two. Then he had to. Maybe did he just figure it out when those questions started?
But then he said, "I'm old, but not that old." So there you go.
I do think when Andy Reid retires, there's a pretty good chance it looks like what Nick Saban just did, where I don't know that Andy Reid's going to have a year warning for you, but he's also pretty significantly younger than those guys.
I mean, that is a way of him saying, like, I haven't thought about it, but I haven't thought about it because I'm coaching, and I haven't thought about it because it's not near my mind of that I'm going to retire. Because I kind of feel like if you've thought about it a little bit, then you're close to retirement.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about retiring, you're already retired, right? Is that sort of the professional sports old saying? And I haven't thought about it. I'm old, but I'm not that old. All right, so there you go. There had been some talk and speculation. What was it? Pro Football Talk?
Yep.
And then probably retweeted by Dov Kleiman
it's
that,
weird that
Andy Reid would be thinking about if the Chiefs lost to the Dolphins, Andy Reid would consider retiring. If they won, he wouldn't. If they lost to Buffalo next week, he's signing on an extension. What was if he loses to Miami, he's lost his fastball?
Here's a game for you. Who retires first, Andy Reid or Travis Kelce?
Travis Kelce.
I think I agree.
Yeah. I've said this.
I could see it being bang, actually, so I don't know. But
Bill Belichick is 15 wins away.
Andy Reid and both Kelces could all go into the Hall of Fame in the same class. That would be kind of cool. I need Jason Kelce to play like 3 more years.
I disagree.
He wouldn't be cool.
I disagree. I don't think that'd be cool at all because I think Jason Kelce's done right now.
I don't want him to be done.
I don't think it doesn't look like Jason Kelce's having a lot of fun playing football right now.
No, that's
the way
true.
that he did last year.
That's true.
Although he's just an old school offensive lineman with a big beard. Typically, those guys aren't smiling and jumping around and playing, paper, rock, scissors, and thumb wrestling on the sideline, having a lot of fun or whatever, running down the sideline with the guys that are, returning touchdowns and fumbles and everything like that. No, because I'd mentioned this, that where Andy Reid is right now in the all-time wins list behind Don Shula and Bill Belichick there trying to catch said coach. If Andy Reid coaches for the next couple of years, and again, he continues to get 10 and 11 win seasons. So you start to add 20 more games. You throw in the postseason games when you're talking about the all-time wins list, regular season and postseason. All of a sudden, he's within reaching distance of that record. By winning the next couple of years, could actually extend his career for 5 or 6 years. Yeah. Total from now, not 5 or 6 years plus those two, in that, okay, well, now I can actually see being the all-time winningest head coach in NFL history. And I get to do it with this quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. In this organization, with the relationship with the owner and everything, yeah, there are worse things to do in your life than do that. And he seems like a lifer. I mean, he's in his 60s still coaching. That would be the definition of a lifer already. But I wonder how much the flame continues to be burning bright as it gets closer to that record, as you get more into, wait a minute, we're not talking about like 7 years anymore. Now we're talking about like maybe 3 more years. Okay, I'm going to coach until I get that record And we'll see where I'm at 3 years from now. And instead of the light slowly, burning out, the star slowly, losing its shine, all of a sudden, boom, and now it's reignited a little bit. Maybe with getting Patrick Mahomes reignited a little bit.
And again, we are talking about Bill Belichick, 71 years old. Is he going to go be the Falcons coach? Is he going to go rebuild a franchise that he helped destroy a little bit, at least in one very specific instance? But we're talking about Bill Belichick's next act as a 71-year-old. Andy Reid is 65. And he's getting asked about this because this is the things that happens, and there are questions that need to be asked of him. But I think as he's alluded to before, Patrick Mahomes also has kept him young. It is more fun to work every day when you've got a good environment, when you've got the right quarterback. I'm guessing these receivers have added a few more grays into that mustache. But I think this is a beginning of a few more good years with Andy Reid.
Here's Kelsey.
Just what's your approach to playoffs this year with everything that has been going on this season?
Excited, man. Excited to get out there. I know we got a big challenge with Miami coming in, and sure enough, who doesn't love playoff football at Arrowhead, baby?
Growing the playoff beard out?
I've been growing this thing out for a while now. See how far I can take it, man.
Charles, what did resting last week do for you?
Say it again?
What did resting last week do for you?
I just feel like, especially it being a short week, being able to get out here and put some good work in with the guys. And felt like we, as a collective unit, we came in and put in a great week of work.
I wonder if you could take us back through the conversation to not play last week. Coach said he'd give this up to you, really, to try to get those 16 yards or whatever.
At the end of the day, I just didn't care enough about it. I felt like I could get some rest and let the guys go out there and just play the game instead of worrying about getting this old guy 16 yards, man. It just never felt right, man.
You have talked for several years now about legacy and stuff like that. But you're talking more about team legacy and Super Bowls than legacy like 1,000.
Yeah, those, yeah. I mean, I think without a doubt, I'm thinking more Super Bowls when I talk legacy, and just having that desire to be a certain type of teammate day in, day out, and channeling that right mindset for sure.
Travis, when you played Miami and Germany, what can you take from that game? How different are these two teams as they battle for a
Well, first thing is that they have a really good secondary. I think that is one of their best secondaries in the league. That being said, Fangio's got them playing very good as a collective unit. They fly around, they play physical football. And with that being said, we got to be able to control the line of scrimmage and make third downs a lot easier with good plays and good movement on first and second.
Travis, I know this isn't the front of your mind now, but a month and a half ago you had an interview where you mentioned that you think about retirement. Just wondering if you've made a decision.
You guys think about retirement? Am I the only one in this boat?
No.
Is anybody else in this thing? Whoever's not thinking about stuff down the road, I blame you. I think it's just I have no reason to stop playing football, man. I love it. We still have success. Come in with the right mindset, and I just love the challenge that it gives me every single day to try and be at my best. And like I said, I have no desire to stop anytime soon.
But you said you thought about it. What would you do if you weren't playing football?
That's the point. The off season, being able to get out there and really find what you love to do. And I've been fortunate to do a few things outside of the sports world that I've been enjoying doing, like getting on camera. The SNL stuff kind of opened up a new happiness and maybe a new career path for me. But it's funny for me to even say that at this point in my career, because I think it's so much further down the road than it is right now.
Travis, when you get a break like you did last week, you have had so much attention from all the defenses. They play you physical. They try to disrupt everything. You're the main guy. Did you get any perspective on maybe a way to, handle that kind of attention, or what you can do to kind of somehow, kind of free up a little bit when you're looking at video?
There's still ways to impact the game, and that's in the run game being able to be a good blocker, in the pass game running my routes accordingly to get other guys open if it's possible. Getting a lot of attention, you can free up a lot of guys, and I think that's the biggest thing, is you're still finding ways to help out the team, even if they are quote unquote taking you away. But love the challenge.
I apologize, Travis. In your 11 years in the league now,
between the hyperexcitability and in week one and just the little nicks and dings that go throughout the year and the challenges with the offense. Has this been the most challenging year for you, maybe?
Man, I would have to go down the list year by year, but I've enjoyed the challenge of this year. Obviously, not the same success, but it's a different journey, and you just got to appreciate every journey as they come along, man.
What about this challenge have you enjoyed?
It's like I said, it's just new. It's new. It's a new feel. It's a new challenge to find ways to get open. It's a new challenge to find ways to get wins. I think I went up to Amena, who after one game or during one game, and said, "Man, we just got to become a team that just grinds these games out, man. It's not the same NFL as it was for us a few years ago, and for whatever reason, when it comes down to third, fourth quarter, we just got to be able to grind it out as a team." And I think everybody understands that.
At what point have y'all understood that the points just are not going to come in bunches like they used to?
I think you're always trying to challenge yourself to have that, to get back to that success, because those are the expectations you set for yourself, right? So it's not just accepting it. It's still trying to get to those goals, but at the same time, understand situational football towards the end of games and be there when your team needs you the most.
What's the key to locking in on the playoffs? I mean, you feel a difference in the air right now.
At this point in the year, you just know you got a special team. You've gone through the ups and downs of the season. You find yourself sitting in the playoffs, and anything can happen in the dance.
Couple more. You have so much playoff experience yourself, and even your young guys have a lot of playoff experience because you won the Super Bowl last year. How important is that, and can you maybe remember what it was like your very first playoff game? There wasn't a lot of people on this team who had playoff experience at that point.
I mean, it's just going to be really fast. It is what it is. The playoffs are that much faster, and it kind of gradually goes up steps as you go along in the playoffs, and you got to practice that much harder. It's not necessarily that you're practicing harder. You're just practicing with that much more focus on the little things, and it's because things happen faster in the playoffs, and it can be overwhelming. But at the same time, I think that's why you got good leaders, guys that have been there, and we've been fortunate to have those guys.
And experience is valuable, though?
Oh, yeah. I mean, guys are just flying around. They don't know what they don't know, baby.
We'll close it out with Adam and then Nate.
Travis, you talked a minute ago about how this has been a different kind of journey for you guys. You had to find different ways to get the job done. Has that had an effect on Pat, you think, one way or the other?
I mean, we're all growing in this thing together. It is, I think Coach Reed, even over the course of his career, he's had some ups and downs, but understands, what it takes to get there. And so you latch onto those leaders and you take advice when you can and just roll with the punches, because we all are still kind of learning in this thing together. Every single season is going to be different, and you got to accept it.
And Travis, I know you obviously had a moment with Tyreek after the game in Germany. Just how much have you thought about having time during Saturday's game to watch what he's like to perform in Arrowhead for the first time as an opponent?
You know what? I expect KC to give him nothing but love until he's putting up the peace sign or something. Then he might hear a few boos. But who he was for this community it speaks volumes. Every single kid's can't be had. He made it his effort to go out and shake those hands and give those kids an experience they'll never have again. And that's why Tyreek is loved in this city, and he'll forever be loved in this city because of who he was off the field in this community as well, man. So it's gonna be electric just to see him, man. He's always one of the best football players in the league when he's on the field. So.
All right, thanks, guys.
Have a good one, guys.
Thanks, Travis.
All right, there's Travis Kelce. What I took away from that is not retiring at the end of the season, and some of the concerns, worries, and aspects of hearing him say he's thought about retirement, and oh my goodness, he's got so many things that he can do after his playing career is over, and can be in the entertainment world. He said pretty definitively that I have no reason to stop playing football. I love it. No desire to stop anytime soon.
And then later, I think it's so much further down the road than it is right now.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear all of those things.
I am as well. And when he said, hey, you did an interview, I think it was Sam McDowell asked you did an interview earlier that you said you thought about retirement. And he's like, who hasn't? Who hasn't thought about retirement? Like, well, I have. I've thought about retirement and just like, will it ever happen?
Apparently, Andy Reid hasn't. So that's something that they haven't figured out yet. They're in different pages.
That's exactly right. So there you go. Andy Reid saying that he's old, but not that old in terms of retiring this offseason. And Travis Kelce almost feeling like, what are you guys talking about? Retirement? Like, I have no reason to stop playing football. I love it. No desire to stop anytime soon. It's so far down the road. And then the other point when he said, this has been a good challenge this year. It's been fun. He's enjoyed it. And then asked, what about it did you enjoy? And he said, it's new, finding new ways to get open, finding new ways to win, talking to Charles Omenihu and saying, we just have to find ways to grind out games, which is obviously different.
Yep.
Not the same offensive approach that they've had in years past that he has enjoyed. Not as much enjoyment from Chiefs fans in watching those, but at least, hey, heading into the playoffs, they're having fun. They're having fun, and he's not thinking about retiring anytime soon.
And that is, I think, in some form, like the question, I don't remember, I'm sorry, who asked, but the question of, like, the challenges of this season. Has this been your hardest season or most frustrating season, whatever the verbiage was? That's something we talked about in like week 8 or something, that I'm calling a shot that at some point in 10 years, Patrick Mahomes will say, oh, that 2023-24 season was just a lot of growing pains, man. It was frustrating. That was the hardest season of my career. I think that's what this season is going to be, at least kind of labeled as, because of the specific and obvious receiver problems. A lot of young guys, the veterans not being the same guys they were before, all of that. I hope they really have been having fun. I hope Travis Kelce really is in a good headspace. I also hope that next year this offense looks fundamentally different enough that we're not talking about having to really grind to an extra level to make the offense work. Like, I think that there are lessons to be learned here from the front office and from Andy Reid and the coaching staff too.
Not only that, but you don't need to go into next year saying, Travis, you're still the main guy. Like, you have to be.
Right.
It's nice if Travis is the main guy, but, he and Tyreek were great 1-2 punch, Batman, Robin. It might be one game Travis is Batman, Tyreek is Robin. Another game that Tyreek is Batman and Travis is Robin. Like, you need somebody to be his Robin or sometimes his Batman. And maybe that's Rashee Rice, but add in somebody else. Add in, a couple of guys so that you're not going, hey, 35-year-old Travis Kelce, you've got to get open. You've got to continue to get beaten up constantly throughout a game, throughout the season, because you have to be the one that is the main focal point of an opposing defense. You're just got to be that guy. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and we'll play some sports or leisure for at least a segment, hopefully two. 913-381-0810. Load them up, first in, first on, to play some sports or leisure, presented by Johnny's Tavern. $25 to Johnny's Tavern. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
leisure time? Why not both?
You're going to have a heart attack by the time you're 40 if you don't learn to relax.
It's time for sports or leisure on The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, abbreviated sports or leisure here on this Thursday. It's presented by Johnny's Tavern. $25 at Johnny's Tavern. Todd Lebo will be at the Johnny's Tavern in Lee Summit today from 4 to 6. You can go there, get registered to win 2 tickets to see Mizzou take on Arkansas in Columbia. All you got to do is show up. Johnny's in West Lee Summit. Lebo and Dylan will be out there. You can find all the Johnny's locations at johnnystavern.com. 4 to 6, I'll be broadcasting there at Johnny's Tavern today. 913-381-0810. What are you smiling about?
Just an abbreviated sports or leisure, also known as SPA or LEAT.
SOL.
That's really
abbreviated,
sports or leisure. The
SOL.
stupidity of me saying that out loud is what made me smile, and so you asked, I committed to it.
Great. How you play, you give us a call. You get a sports question, you get a leisure question. You get them both right, you win. Get either of them wrong, sorry, you lose. The question's out there available to call in and request, though. We give out the right answer when somebody answers it correctly, or we have simply run out of time to continue to play sports or leisure, presented by Johnny's Tavern. Categories today, very quick ones with the sports side. NFL, and then we have Chiefs playoffs questions. Chiefs playoffs / postseason. Playoffs! Chiefs playoffs! What about leisure?
We got the pun name game. We got the grab bag variety pack of questions that have expired and needed to go in the recycling bin. We have what could it IMDb? I'll give you the synopsis of a movie or TV show. You tell me what it is. And then we have a century ago trivia from the year 1924 in honor of it being 100 years in the new year. And also Frank Bold. I like to shout him out whenever I can. If you want to bring him up. I don't like it when you Google the answers, but if you call Frank Bold to ask him a question about 1924, I will allow that.
By the way, just realized that right now, as of this morning, Andy Reid is the current active winningest coach.
He's also the oldest coach,
I
believe.
The winningest active coach in the NFL right now is Andy Reid. So take that. All right, 913-381-0810. I'm good to go. Josh, you good to go?
I'm good to go. That's interesting. Dylan, are you good to go?
I'm happy. Hooray.
I love Droopy.
Here we go. All right, let's head to the phone lines. And, oh, wow, breaking news on ESPN. Ohio State wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. is entering the NFL draft.
What? Ryan Day to Bama?
Why would he even want to stay there? This is just out of nowhere.
Yeah,
just a
shocking.
Total shock. Is he going to play in the Senior Bowl? Because now they're allowing underclassmen. I mean, you got to get your name out there somewhere if you're Marvin Harrison Jr. Do you think he will go through car wash interviews?
I think he should talk to Sterling. I think he should do interviews with Sterling.
I'm just saying he would be used to things around a car wash. So let's go to the phone lines, and we bring
I don't
in
know what you're talking about.
Avery to lead us off here. Avery, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
I'll do NFL questions.
Just regular NFL questions?
Yes, regular.
Okay, just a regular NFL question for you. All righty then.
How many yards did Tom Brady pass for in 2014? To the
Yesterday. All right, now that Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick are not coaching currently, there are 2 coaches tied for the next most playoff wins after Andy Reid. So active head coaches with the most playoff wins, Andy Reid is number 1. The next 2 guys tied with the same number, who are they?
And Bruce Arians retired.
He did. That is correct.
I'll say, is John Harbaugh one of them?
He is one of the 2. You're halfway there. Living on a prayer.
Shanahan?
Are you looking at Mike or are you looking at Kyle?
Either.
Only one of them is active right now. So.
Neither.
I'll go the active one.
Yep. Neither of them are correct. It is not Kyle Shanahan.
That's interesting.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. He's out.
Yeah!
He doesn't love Lebo today.
Yeah!
Apparently, his love for Lebo is dependent on winning.
I love Lebo every day.
I love Lebo if I win or lose. I lose a lot. And I love Lebo.
I love Lebo when I tie.
I love Lamp.
Win, lose, or draw.
Let's go to Logan next up on Sports Radio 810. Logan, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let's go leisure.
What category would you like?
IMDb.
The quirky spin on Conan Doyle's iconic sleuth pitches him as a high-functioning sociopath in modern-day London.
Oh, gosh, I have no idea.
I'll give you this. This is IMDb TV. They're all kind of lumped together. This is a TV
show, not a movie.
one limited series. I mean, it had multiple seasons, but they were
interesting.
in
Okay.
unique.
Doctor Who, maybe?
Who's that?
Who did Conan Doyle's iconic sleuth? You think is?
Oh gosh, no, it wasn't. Sorry, Peaky Blinders.
All right, I was gonna give you. I can't give you
Peaky
three. I'm sorry.
Blinders. That would be great. Logan, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. 913-381-810.
No shot clocks. We're going double time today,
yeah, we gotta
everybody.
double
Sorry,
time.
we don't mean to be rude, but get them right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for playing,
That
everybody.
actually was rude.
I'm really sorry.
Just because you say I don't mean to be rude doesn't mean that you can then be rude.
Hey, with all due respect, dumbass.
I said with all due respect.
It's fine.
It means but
could've
just
been-
because you say with all due respect doesn't mean you get to say whatever you want.
But if you weren't due that much respect.
Yes, I do. That's why I said all due respect.
Yeah, you're due it. I did it.
No offense. No offense. Promise you won't get mad.
That's the worst. Now the emphasis is on me.
Yeah. Well, you promised you wouldn't get mad. Matt, next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Matt, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let's go with that NFL one that's out there.
NFL one that's out there, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, the playoffs. So Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick are not coaching right now. Andy Reid, the most playoff wins among active coaches. There are two coaches behind Andy Reid that are both tied, the same number of wins in the postseason. John Harbaugh was guessed. That was correct. Kyle and Mike both, Shanahan's guessed. That was incorrect. What say you?
How about Mike McCarthy?
Correct. Mike McCarthy and John Harbaugh both with 11 playoff wins.
I was thinking it was Mike Tomlin, and you said Mike. Oh no! I guess that could be right.
Yeah.
Tomlin,
McCarthy,
and that's interesting.
and-
Tomlin and Shanahan are both feel like they were good
Yep.
guesses.
And Mike on the leisure.
What question or what category would you like? Got the one that's out there or a new category?
Do you have any pun name game today?
I do have a pun name game for you today. This member of the Country Music Hall of Fame originally began performing under the name Randy Ray, but it's probably good that he changed that because now he's an explosive playmaker for the Jaguars offense. Not now, because I wrote this before. I wrote this before the playoffs, so I mean, not now, but
yep,
he's one of the
Yes, that's right.
premier weapons.
Come on, man. Somebody is in your ear, and you're gonna. If you get this wrong, they're gonna say, "I told you so."
Can you repeat it one time?
I can.
Yep.
This member of the Country Music Hall of Fame originally began performing under the name Randy Ray, but it's probably good that he changed that because now he's an explosive playmaker for the Jaguars offense.
All right. Okay. I think I got it. How about Randy Travis Etienne?
Ding ding! I actually think I might have written that so long ago. That might have been.
I told you one day you'd
on
be
here since week
coming
2.
back and asking me to take you. Is that a winner?
That's your side now. No, right?
He got,
no, you got
Mike
you got McCarthy. That's a
You
winner.
got McCarthy and Randy Travis.
That's a winner. Sorry for making you try to
That's
have
right.
to get 3 of those.
McCarthy's favorite singer. I don't know.
I'll do one more if you guys want.
Listen,
badass answer. Hell yeah, Matt.
That is the way to do it.
We'll put you on hold. Congratulations, sir. Hold on. Well done.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, you're
You
welcome.
got it? All right,
All right.
listen.
913-381-810. Let's go to.
I'm moving fast today.
Carl next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Carl, what side do you want to start with?
First of all, it's Charles, and second of all, can you put me at the end of the line?
Oh,
sure.
Yeah, sure.
Sure thing.
Yep. Charles,
Sure
we'll put
thing.
you on hold.
Sure thing, Carl.
Very good. Let's go to B next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
It's actually D.
B, go right ahead. What's on your mind? Or, excuse me, sports or leisure. What side do you want to start with?
Let's go with sports.
Yes, it is B, though, right? We got the name
B.
right? Yeah.
Yep, you got it.
All right. All right, what category you want? We got just generic NFL. Then we have Chiefs-specific playoff questions.
Let's go generic NFL.
Okay, very good. How about this? This was interesting. Saw this last night. Patrick Mahomes and this other quarterback are either ranked first or second all time in a player's first 14 postseason games in passing yards, passing touchdowns, passes completed, and passer rating. The first 14 postseason games of a player's career, Patrick Mahomes and one other quarterback are either first or second in all of those categories: passing yards, passing touchdowns, passes completed, and passer rating. What other quarterback is there with Patrick Mahomes that they sort of exchanged back and forth? All right, you can be first in this one. I'm going to be first over here.
Well, you dug deep for this one, huh?
I just saw it last night. It was very interesting. He's retired. I will tell you that he is retired, and did end up with a Super Bowl. Did get a Super Bowl in his career.
I can't tell if that's a real hint or a fake hint, but either way, this is a good question.
No, he's retired and has one Super Bowl.
One Super Bowl.
There's a pretty good hint.
Only one Super Bowl?
Mahomes has one more Super Bowl win than this player does.
Okay. All right, that's a great hint.
There you go. That's a pretty decent
Tom
hint.
Brady has one Super Bowl. Is where I wasn't sure how many layers you were going there.
Yeah, he has one Super Bowl, and other quarterbacks have multiple Super Bowls. This guy, very prolific passer, is now
You said
retired.
the first nine playoff games?
First 14, because that's what Patrick Mahomes is, technically, first 14. This is a playoff game or postseason game number 15 for Patrick already. First 14 postseason games, first or second in yards, touchdowns, completions, and passer rating. Recently retired and only had one Super Bowl win.
Got it. Brett Favre.
That is
not Brett Favre. No!
That would have been my guess too. Eventually,
Yeah.
I'm running out of good candidates.
Allegedly.
B. Thank you. Oh, you know what? You know what? B. I appreciate you playing, man. A good hint for him would have been. It's so close to his name. Let's go to John next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. John, Sports or Leisure, what side do you want to start with?
I will go. Let's go sports.
All right, Chiefs playoffs or just NFL?
I will do NFL, and I don't want that question that was just up because I was certain it was either Kurt Warner, and now I know it's not.
No, it is not Kurt Warner, and it is not Brett Favre either. Okay, so let's go with this one for the NFL. Travis Kelce recorded his 158th straight game with a reception. Obviously not against the Chargers, but that was against the Bengals. It's the second most of all active streaks. Which player has the longest streak with now 161 games? He caught a pass in Week 18. So Kelce actually moved 3 games behind this player. 161 straight games now with a reception. How many did he get in that game? Because for whatever reason, I thought there was somebody like, okay, there it is. But it could be.
I know a guy. I don't want to get into
Oh, you know a guy?
I know a guy.
You know a guy? All right.
I know a guy who hit an incentive catching a lot of passes in Week 18.
Oh, you know what? I think that's what it was
what
when they said there it is, because he did have a lot of catches. That is correct.
So I'm down
he had
to
7.
Okay.
2 guys.
He only needed 1 to keep this streak going.
That's the guy?
That's the
Okay.
guy.
All right. That's the guy I know.
That's the one, Marv.
know
That's
a
the
guy.
silver tuna.
So I don't think he's been in the league for 10 years, but I'm going to say Mike Evans, Tampa.
Mike Evans is not a bad
It's
guess.
a good guess.
But
It's
is
just not correct.
Mike
not it?
Evans.
Okay.
No. That's a good guess, though, John. 913-381-0810. That is not bad at all. Charles, you're at the back of the line, and in fact, you're not on hold anymore. So, Charles, I don't know. He is so far the back of the line, he's not even in line anymore. He just left the line.
Maybe he decided this line wasn't for him. I don't
He's
know.
left the line. Let's go to Patty next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Patty, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Sports, please.
All right, we got NFL. We have Chiefs playoffs. What category are you thinking?
I would like to try that question, that Super Bowl question.
With the
Quarterback.
The quarterbacks, yes.
Yep, recently retired.
Yep, recently retired, 1 Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes and this other quarterback are either first or second all-time in a player's first 14 postseason games in passing yards, passing touchdowns, passes completed, and passer rating. The guess of, I guess, both Kurt Warner and Favre were both wrong. What say you?
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees. Well done, Drew Brees. And Patrick Mahomes first or second. On to leisure with Josh.
Do you know what category you'd like?
A very easy one because I'll never get it.
I like it.
Okay. What's the capital of Germany?
Frankfurt. No.
I thought it was G, right?
G would be the capital letter.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm
Thanks.
so stupid.
Yeah, that's all right. It's all right, Jason. Your phone cut out. I definitely
Yeah,
didn't
did you-
hear.
No, I didn't.
Your guess.
I didn't hear which one you said because.
Well, I said.
What?
I didn't hear what you said the first time. There was no
official
official first guess.
No, I have no idea what you're talking
I've
about.
had this question on here for so long.
Are you saying you want a hot dog? Like there's Frankfurters around there? Yeah.
All right, Jason, don't build a wall up between her and this opportunity to get this question.
Look, I know that you better bundle up because it's going to be cold on Saturday.
What's your official guess?
Berlin.
Yeah! Well done. Your phone stayed on that time.
That's good. That's helpful.
Well done, Patty. We'll put you on hold. Get your information. $25. Johnny's Tavern is yours. Thank you so much. All right. Now, see, it's just that easy.
It's just that easy.
No hints.
If you take a grab bag question, I will help. my Randy Travis Etienne's been in there since week 2 from the pun name game. I got Philadelphia questions. I got Germany questions. I got Star Wars questions.
He will help you forever and ever.
I will do my
Amen.
best. Did Carl call back?
Charles did, yes. But let's go to Ben. He's next up because Charles is at the back of the line. Ben, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with, sir?
Let's go sports.
All right. We got regular NFL. We got Chiefs playoffs.
Let's say Chiefs playoffs.
All right. Thank you very much. How old are you, Ben?
I just turned 40.
Okay, very good. So you're
What's your mother's maiden name?
IQ, please.
Can I get your credit card?
What is the last 4 digits of your social? All right, Chiefs playoffs.
Name 1 digit of your social security number.
I'm going to believe you that that's one of them. All right, I liked this one, and so you're around my age, so you would remember these. So there are 5 quarterbacks in Chiefs history to lead the team to a win. Only 5 quarterbacks have won a postseason game in Chiefs history. Besides the first, Len Dawson, and the most recent, Patrick Mahomes, who are the other 3?
Can you read
5 Joe Montana.
There's 1. That's right.
Alex Smith.
There's 2. That's why I had 3. So 3 quarterbacks besides 5 total have a postseason win on their resume in Chiefs history. Len Dawson, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Montana, Alex Smith, and this quarterback.
Do I want to go? Oh, Gannon.
And this quarterback.
Don't fire the Gannon indoors here.
This starting quarterback all year long for the Chiefs. They decided they needed an upgrade, so they went and got somebody like Joe Montana. But they needed an upgrade over this guy, but still won a playoff game for him.
What about DeBerg?
Hey, well, Steve DeBerg, nice job.
go.
Steven DeBerg. Well done, Ben. Over to leisure, right?
Yeah, what
Leisure?
category would
Yeah,
you like?
That's right.
I caught the end of this question earlier, but the one with the author, Conan Doyle.
Yeah. I can reread you that, and you can decide if you want it or not. I got to read it again anyway. So, the quirky spin on Conan Doyle's iconic sleuth pitches him as a, quote, high-functioning sociopath in modern-day London.
Sherlock Holmes.
Well, it's the name of the TV show. What's the name of the TV show?
Oh, I'm with you, Ben. I thought it was just.
Let's not do that one then.
Okay, let's not do that one then. What category would you like?
I'll do grab bag.
Hell yeah. Tom Hanks had 2 consecutive Academy Award nominations with win for Best Actor in 1993 and 1994. The first was for Philadelphia. What was the second? This was a question from Eagles Week.
Was it Tampa?
He won it for Philadelphia and Tampa Bay back-to-back.
Nice job.
Basically, the question is, what did he win Best Actor for in 1994? But I needed it to work for an Eagles game until we got here January 11th, that it doesn't make any sense as to why I would phrase the question that way. Is what the leftovers are for.
Well, I mean, the only one I can think of would be Forrest Gump.
The only one you can think of is going to Johnny's Tavern.
How about that? You can run your way right to Johnny's Tavern. Ben, thank you, sir. Well done. We'll put you on hold, get your information. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. There you go. Forrest Gump. And also Tampa Bay. It was a smaller.
It was an art house.
It was a short.
Yeah, it was. It played before Pixar movies.
For the short. All right, Charles, you are at the back of the line. You are the final contestant here for sports or leisure. Charles, what side do you want to start with?
Didn't hear any of the categories, so run the leisure side down for me.
Leisure side is IMDb, the IMDb game. I got TV and movies. The grab bag, so variety questions, the pun name game, and a century ago, trivia from 1924.
Let's do the grab bag.
Let's do the grab bag. We all spend a lot of time making sure we charge our phones. What's the type of rechargeable battery that you're likely using right now, powering Apple products and Androids alike? This is from Chargers Week. Keep your phone charged.
The battery that goes on or in your phone?
Yeah, like your phone battery. It's the most common type of phone battery. Batteries for lots of accessories. It's a type of battery.
AAA?
It's not a AAA.
Oh, double A. D. C?
It starts with an L. If you get half of it right, I'll send you back to the sports side. Grab bag's almost empty. I give you this or a Star Wars question.
Name of a charger or a battery?
Battery.
Okay.
It's a type of battery.
Oh, Cole Reagan and Salvi.
That's exactly right. It starts with an L, though. Matt starts with a W, so...
Okay, good point.
I almost said good joke, but it wasn't quite funny enough to be a joke.
Good job.
Yeah, it wasn't really...
Good point.
Wasn't
right.
exactly
That's also
funny.
a good point. What do you say, Charles? What do you think? What kind of battery you thinking?
Chargeable battery.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh. I'm not good with techie crud. LG.
No, that's like a brand. It's not really what I was looking for. Not really.
Nah. Charles, one more shot. 5, 4, 3. Starts with an L. 2, 1.
Starts with an L or O?
L.
Starts with an L.
I have no idea.
Yep, that starts with an L is a loss. Charles, thank you so much. Appreciate it, man. All right, so that'll do it. What's the answer to that?
Lithium-ion batteries.
Oh,
Lithium
really?
would have worked. It's the type of metal that's in the batteries. They're so everywhere that I felt like it'd be a fair game. It's a little tricky.
They are so everywhere.
They're so everywhere.
Oh,
I think that's all I had out there, though.
That is so everywhere. You said it started with an L. I thought it was going to be level A, but it was not. Lithium. I don't think. Oh, I have one that was out there. Travis Kelce recorded his 158th straight game with a reception against the Bengals 2 weeks ago. Second most all-time of active streaks. What player had has the longest streak now at 161 games? That would be
DeAndre Hopkins.
DeAndre Hopkins with 161. If you're wondering, Stephon Diggs has 135. Zach Ertz had 127, but we'll see if that gets extended. And Devontae Adams at 129. Those are the active streaks. But DeAndre Hopkins, 161. Travis Kelce, 158. We'll take a timeout, wrap up the show next.